You're tuned in to Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. Unicare, offering a variety of plans for people insured under the GIC. At Unicare, your health is their top priority. Reverie 73, Lowell's #1 cannabis shop. Elevate your cannabis experience at Reverie 73. Hafner's, heating and cooling homes and businesses for nearly a century. Become a part of the Hafner's family. It kicks. Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. And by Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special Inside Lowell podcast. Election 2023 live coverage coming to you from the Inside Lowell studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell. I am your host, Teddy Panos. Well, at least your host for the first part of this evening. We've got an all-star team of election broadcasters, analysts, and pundits convened, and we've got folks out on the ground gathering vote totals for us when they become available. And of course, the votes, once they get tabulated at Lowell City Hall, added into the early and mail-in votes, we will know the results, or at least the unofficial results, of the 2023 City of Lowell municipal election. Still got about 58 minutes until those polls close throughout the city. So if you happen to be watching us and you haven't voted, well, just run out there, watch, keep streaming us on your cell phones, but try to get out there and vote, especially if you know what you're talking about and have paid attention to Inside Lowell during this campaign season. But we're going to kind of break it down, recap the day, how it's gone. By all accounts, a very disappointing day in terms of turnout. We'll let you know how disappointing that is in a quick second. I want to bring in right now our election night team, or at least the one part of the election night team. We're going to be joined in a little bit by Jake Vitali, formerly of the Lowell Sun and the Fitchburg Sentinel. He'll be with us as well here on the show. He'll be taking over for me at 8 o'clock when it's time for Asa Stutz and I to get out there and start gathering votes. But let me introduce them to you, left to right on your screen. The guy with the, what does that say? Del Funky Homo Sapien?
Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Yeah, that's a band.
It's, yes.
Oh, okay.
You might say that.
Excellent. All right, that's Jack Mitchell, who put out his election predictions yesterday. We published them. We're going to talk a little bit about those, and we'll see how close you come. Out in the center of your screen is the Lowell citizen, Ryan Gilday. You didn't have that beard.
I didn't know. It's new, and it's very white. It was a lot whiter than I was expecting it to be. So,
is it itchy? Is it warm?
It's itchy. I don't know that I like it. So yeah. So we'll see what happens with the beard.
All right.
It's an experiment.
Well, glad to have you here. You said you wouldn't podcast, and now we dragged you in here for a second podcast.
Playoffs beard.
So I love it.
Beard,
That's right. He's not going to shave till the results are known. I'm going to grow it until
we get 9,000 votes in the city.
Well, that may be 20.
It's going to tickle 25. My knees. It's going to tickle my knees.
Mona Tyree is joining us as well. Hi, Mona. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Great to have you here with us. And then let's see, can we get him? There we go. We can get him in and camera 4 over there. Asa Stutz, the host of the Power Hour and our election numbers guru. You're like the Brian Stetler, a little skinnier and a little less hair, right? But
it's the meanest thing you've ever said.
Actually, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm so sorry for that.
Horrible thing to say.
You're more like the John Roberts. Is that the guy that goes in front of that board at CNN?
You can only go up from Brian Stetler.
So. That's true.
I'll take it.
At least I didn't call you Jeffrey Toobin. So look at it that way.
But keep watching just in case.
Throughout the course of the evening tonight, when the votes start to get tabulated and some of the results start to leak into us, Asa Stutz will be up on our whiteboard over there. we've got this ready just for you, Asa.
How can you tell me now?
You're gonna start
Really?
to
You could
fill
have
in
told
some
me this for weeks.
I bought you new numbers. Look at the design too. Like my microphone, I had to adjust about 5 times so it didn't look like a phallic symbol. But it looks like our Inside Lowell logo at this point, does it not?
That looks good.
Kind of close.
I think it looks like a middle finger.
No. Or them.
Eye of the beholder, baby. Eye of the beholder.
Well, it's good. Thank you, all of you, for being here tonight. We got a lot to talk about on this election night. Let's first, let me just quickly start and say thank you to all of our Inside Lowell sponsors who have made this broadcast possible, and all of our Inside Lowell podcasts, and all of Inside Lowell possible for that matter. And you heard some of the major ones earlier there in the show introduction. We'll play that a couple of times during the course of the night as some of us need to alternate and take bathroom breaks, because 3 hours without commercials is a long bleeping time, folks. But thank you to our friends at Unicare, Massachusetts' #1 plan for those insured under the GIC. Thank you as well to Washington Savings Bank, to Hafner's, Boston North Company, Reverie 73, Mahoney Oil Company, Francis E. Preventure Insurance, Real Estate Ray Booton, Spectacle Live, IBEW, Local 2321, Lowell Lock and Key, Spin City Laundromat, McKenna Willette D'Amato Funeral Home, the Greater Merrimack Valley Convention and Visitors Bureau, Cobblestones and Moonstones, the Stones Hospitality Group, Action King Services, Unitas, Christopher's Towing, The Worthen, Phil Tebow Architect, Duville Life and Wellness, Lowell Philharmonic Orchestra, Rizzo's Roast Beef and Pizza, which supplied some food for all of us to eat during our broadcast tonight, and of course also our partners at the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, Stellar Web Studios, the Lowell Summer Music Series, and Merrimack Valley Wi-Fi Pros. I'd also be remiss if I didn't say a big thank you to our political sponsors, a half dozen of them who jumped on board and tried to get their message out to you, the voter, through Inside Lowell, Corey Belanger, Bobby Tubielli, Mayor Sokari Chow, Kim Scott, Johnny Dakota, and newcomer Virak Oy. I want to thank them as well for supporting Inside Lowell, and hopefully you were able to get your message out. And with that, back to our wide awake panel over here. Turnout. Been doing this show forever on radio. This is my first time doing it on Inside Lowell for municipal elections, but we're always starting early in the morning. How many people have voted here by 8 o'clock? How many people have voted there? And as these numbers kept coming in today, I thought to myself, damn, it's meeting my very low expectations, which I kind of published yesterday, questioning whether we even get 7,500 voters, maybe 8,000 or so if we were lucky. Anything jump out at you folks? Let me start with you, Mo. Let's go ladies first, if we can.
Nothing's jumped out.
You expected what we're getting.
No, I actually thought it would be a little more than what I've heard. So I am a little bit surprised.
We did our preview show a couple of weeks ago, and all of us, you, Ryan, Jack, and I, thought we were going well below the 12,145 that turned out in 2021, the first year of this with all the big excitement. By all indications, if we're stuck at that 7,000 to 8,000 range, did you think it would go that low?
Yeah, because I'm not sure people are as interested for this particular election. I'm not quite sure why, but they're not.
Ryan,
Yeah.
are you?
I'm surprised. If it comes in as low as you're predicting, I'd be surprised. I thought I said 11.6 was my prediction. I figured a little bit lower than average over the past 5 cycles. But if it comes in under 10,000, I'd definitely way off base. I thought that the at-large race would at least be enough to keep that block of, I don't know if it's a block, but that 10,000, 11,000 voters that usually come out would be there just for that alone, even if some of the neighborhood races weren't as exciting. So, yeah, I'm going to be surprised if it comes in.
You're a Bellevue guy. What time did you vote? Did you vote at the Riley?
I voted at the Riley at like 7 a.m. So
7 a.m.,
yeah.
okay.
So there was a line, but I don't know.
So as we have our little numbers here, I'm going to go back to 2020 21, which again, a special year, first under the new system, some really competitive races, and Belvedere featured 2 incumbent councilors, Leahy and Samaras, going head to head. But there were 2,641 votes,
Yeah.
2641. We got some reports that about 5 o'clock, they just crossed the 1,000 barrier at the Riley. Now they're going to throw some numbers in there, I believe, from the Pine, which won't be anywhere near. But 1,500? Do we even get there this year?
I don't know. Stunning to think that the neighborhood didn't turn out, even just for the at-large race. I understand that. It's hard to believe that 2,600 showed up in 2021 just based on the Samaras Leahy race. It just doesn't compute to me, so I don't know exactly I can attribute it to. So.
Jack?
I'm not sure. I tend not to be too hyped up about it, which is not good for maybe being the media side of things, because I'd rather just wait until it's all cooled off. And, data is like revenge, best served cold. So, the speculation at this point, I just don't know what to say. I'm concerned that there are people that don't like the current system, and they're going to try to take the second year of turnout and try to go all gloom and doom.
That's already happening.
Right.
Yep, you are 100% correct. Which pains me to say.
Well, I don't know what it'll be interesting to see what happens in South Lowell, because from what I can gather, it was really the only contested district race where both candidates were even breaking a sweat. I know Kim was working very hard, and I don't know Susie, but I know her people, and I think they're going to put in a good effort there, right? If the at-large candidates do what I call fish where the fish are, if they go to Belvedere, if they go to the Upper Highlands, if they go sort of up against the state forest in the Pawtucketville area, and sort of where the high propensity and the large density of voters are, you'll see maybe normal turnout there, right? Or just below normal if it's a low year. But what does it mean for the acre? What does it mean for, downtown or South Lowell? Not South Lowell, but Lower Highlands, Centerville. I'm not sure what it means.
Asa, you've been out there. Actually, you got out of work. This is how insane you are. You got out of work, then started driving around the city, walking to and from polling locations, in and out of them, and actually gathering some hard numbers. Give us a little something of what you've been able to gather so far, and we'll kind of look at it and see how it compares to the turnout in 2021.
So District 5, Jack just talked about, if that would bring people out, the Kim Scott, Susie Chun race. They had 630 votes total at 6 p.m.
Compared to 1,200 total ballots counted. So in an hour and a half, it's clear they're not going to get anywhere near that, right? They're not.
No, they're not getting.
They're not getting to two-thirds that, right?
Yeah, and another contested race, Corey Robinson, District 2, I believe. They had 600 votes as of 6:30 p.m. So I forget what their number was, but it was obviously well over 1,000.
1447, and that, of course, Corey was just an engagement machine, both in the primary, preliminary that year, and in the general election. Yes, it was a contested race this year. Was it really? And then you throw in the fact, you don't have the Eileen Del Rossi.
Gignac was probably a better.
Right, Gignac was a well-known candidate, former school committeeman.
Right, 75-25.
But you also had the dynamic of Eileen Del Rossi and Hillary Clark, so you got a good turnout there as well. But again, those numbers disappointing.
Do you think I put the over/under at 9,500 a couple of weeks ago?
Based on what you've seen,
from what I've seen today, I'd put it at. Lowell will be happy to get 9,000.
9.
That would be a great late push. The dinner crowd's coming through. But if I had to bet over under 9,000, I might take the under.
I'm going to take the under.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the under there. Why didn't the at-large race draw more? That's a pretty good list of candidates, and you actually had an open seat. I mean, you had a current counselor running for it, Eric Gitchier, a former counselor, and Corey Belanger, who always, whether he wins or loses, he's always right on the cusp. So you know that they're well-known names. Bobby Tubielli, second go-around, well-known name. And then Virak Oy, newcomer, but still, you know, Southeast Asian, you know, would he be able to tap into some of that? You would have thought that would give you more turnout, but it didn't.
Was there a real Belvedere candidate? I mean, Ryan would know. Rita's obviously, Rita lives in Belvedere, but she's kind of a citywide candidate.
Yeah.
She doesn't meet that Samaras, Leahy type candidate.
No.
You didn't have, because you should have 1, 2, 3 of those candidates. I'm not sure you have any. Right there is hundreds of votes, I would assume.
Not really a real issue either to rally around in terms of it's not. I don't view this election as any type of referendum on the city manager, right? So there's not those cues that would usually drive people out in higher numbers, you know? So, I mean, there's some grumbling about taxes, but I don't think people are ready to start throwing tea into the harbor, you know? So I don't think that there's, you know, I mean, there's no high school debate, there's no radical issue that's going to drive people out. Nevertheless, I to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know why there's not more interest in the at-large race. It doesn't make much sense to me.
We shouldn't be surprised overall. I mean, we were not going to get to 12,145 that we got to last time. There's a natural drop off in excitement from the first time you have anything new. Throw in the fact you got a couple of non-competitive races, and you know, well, you have a couple of races where there isn't a challenger in Pawtucketville, which I believe last time there were 2,028 votes in Pawtucketville. The sleeping giant actually awoke in 2021 for the Rourke Elliott race.
Where were they in 2017?
You had the 2641 that we mentioned in Belvedere. Now Leahy's running unopposed. Some of these other races, I mean, you know, Johnny Dakota's kind of running unopposed in the Highlands, though the school committee battle, the only school committee battle, should generate some excitement, along with Eric Gitchier's efforts to make the jump from Highlands to at-large. But really, I mean, some of the numbers I saw from District 4, I was talking to Wayne Jeunesse an hour ago. We both thought they'd be lucky to get to 500 with total votes in all of District 4, which is that sausage district of downtown, the South Lowell, and then the other side of the Merrimack, East Pawtucketville, or whatever it's called. Is that a function of the?
They had 1,000 votes, just
1,000.
so you know, last time.
They got 1,000 last time. Okay.
1,004.
And Wayne thinks they'll be lucky to get to 500. Is that a function of the challengers? And I'm not just going to pick on Amata Gregory here, because she kind of went MIA over the last month, as did Ty Chum in District 8. But really, turnout should be driven by the challengers, right? If there's a challenger that or a new face that generates excitement, a la Corey Robinson and Kim Scott, et cetera, then that's when you see turnout. I think even the races, other than maybe the Acre and South Lowell, I don't think there's any drama there. I don't think there's any, let's get up and vote for our person.
No, there's the protest vote. That's what gets people out. There's none of it. You have the high school vote years ago. You have no school committee races, really. Citywide, there's no, 2 are unopposed. That's not bringing anybody out. There's not COVID. There's not teachers. There's no superintendent search. There's just nothing. When there's nothing going on, there's no big anger. It seems like no one in Lowell is happy or mad.
Should we have postponed the ADU vote to November 14th?
Yeah, if they had that.
If the ADU vote was on the table,
That had potential, but it kind of came too late and then it ended.
Even if there was an ADU ballot question, like it was proposed beforehand, if you just waited, put that on the ballot, I bet that would have driven quite a few people out just to be heard on that matter, you know? So even last time, wasn't the how we choose the mayor, was that a ballot question last time around?
Yes.
Non-binding.
Yeah, non-binding.
75% voted for that, by the way.
Yeah.
And guess what?
The council won't
We're
touch it.
still not choosing.
No one even cares or mentions it.
We can revisit this nonsense in January as to how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't think it'll wait until January.
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah.
That nonsense starts tonight.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
already started.
we'll have it. It's already started. By 10 o'clock tonight, we may have an inkling as to who's the next mayor.
You got some chicken wings and a nice scoop.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be skulking around the victory parties. Mona, did any of the challengers generate any excitement for you?
No.
Probably the right answer.
No.
And by the way,
And
for those who don't know her, Mona follows us every single thing we post on Inside Lowell. There's Mona, liking it or commenting it or reading it. So you follow this stuff closely and always have. You count yourself as an activist, and
Absolutely.
you seem less. Maybe it's the company on that side of the table. You want to come sit on this side of the table where we have all the energy, but
No.
you don't seem moved by the 2023 election.
Well, for me, I think I'm more interested in the at-large, and that's only because citywide I'm looking at, and of course, in the district that I'm in, I'm interested, but the other districts, I'm not as interested. I don't think anybody, in my opinion, I don't see anybody that like sticks out and is saying anything really new. So because there's nothing really new being spoken about or, used for running, the interest is not as what it was before.
It plays into the incumbent's hands, I think, is what you're trying to say. If you want to take out an incumbent, whether it's a state rep, state senator, governor, president, you got to go after them, right? You have to clearly differentiate yourself to them. And I don't think any of the challengers did. The debates I did kind of fell flat. Even Susie Chun and Kim
She
Scott.
sounded like she wanted to vote for Kim Scott.
Yeah, I'm like, where's this passion? Where's the person who grabbed the bullhorn at these rallies? And I didn't see it from her. Like you said, she was almost, deferring.
Great job.
To Kim. If you want to beat her, you got to go after her. You got to point out her failings. And,
Yes.
even if there's only 3 shortcomings and, 100 successes, you better hammer home those 3 and make them seem like those are the 3 dominant issues. Jack, you're a guy who, helps campaigns, advises, gets out there, tells them where to go, where to try to harvest votes. Am I off on my judgment here?
No, I think there's a hesitancy to go hard in the paint at another candidate, right? Because the city is like a big town, okay? So if there's people that like that other person, and it's everybody it's a weird situation where people have friends and enemies, but of their enemies are usually friends with their friends. So there's like enough interconnectivity that it's really hard to make a shitstorm in the city. I don't think there's a taste for it. When it comes to issues like the Lowell High School, it's just, there's no room, the room is taken away to wiggle. You're either a yay or a nay. And then as the people are talking about it, they start to, show where they're going to go on an issue because it's divisive. If in terms of, advising or how a candidate would do it, really the way to do it is on the doors. But you've got to make that connection. You've got to hear what the people are talking about, knock doors and do more listening than talking. And then, like if you started in May, June, you walk around, you just talk to people and get an idea of what's important to them. Work on formulating kind of what the candidates' opinions are and how they see governing, and then maybe July, August, kind of talk about how they see, how they would vote and how they would approach those problems. But that's done at the doors. Campaigning like you would blog. And as a guy that, has thrown plenty of shit around in the blogs, I just don't think it's really a good way to operate as a politician. It's good national politics, and you see, because they're trying to raise money from strangers, but you got to eat lunch in this town. And I just don't think anybody wants to just, make enemies, except for Freddie Doyle or there are a few
Bomb throwers.
Right.
Some old school bomb throwers.
Freddie Doyle's not walking through that door, is he?
No. So it's
He also never got more than 2,000 votes, or 3,000 votes. So yeah.
But boy, did he make it fun on the radio.
He'd be the mayor in this race.
Let me play devil's advocate here. I blame the candidates. I said an uninspiring field of challengers, except for maybe 1 or 2. I think Susie Chun Could have been better. Fruenkambank certainly was intriguing to me, especially had he run for school committee. But let me put on my Jeff Foster hat here and my activist hat. The city didn't do its part. The city did not push this. I saw a couple of tweets this morning, replies to things we put on Inside Lowell that others put out there. Well, I didn't even know where to vote, and I thought I should vote here, but I didn't vote there. And they didn't have early voting in 12 different locations. They had it all at City Hall, and then they moved that, mail-in ballot box. They moved it inside the police station, and that scared people off. Does the city bear some responsibility here in the low turnout?
Well, the city has a responsibility to make sure it's accessible and fair, obviously. But in terms of, I wouldn't pin low turnout on the city. No, not at all.
No responsibility. They go above and beyond with mail-in now and drop-offs and everything that they do.
None of you will ever head a nonprofit, by the way.
No,
at least the two of you.
not.
Jack has a chance, though.
The only issue I saw, actually, what you mentioned, is at the Robinson, they had a lot of people for the green alge that was showing up there. So the guy working the box there told me they sent at least 20 people over to the green alge. So that was it. When you go around the city, you find out little things. And that was the only little thing I learned today. Now I'm sharing it with you.
I'm going to go way out on a limb on this and say that the elections office got a boost to its budget to buy voting machines and to hire staff. And so I think other parts of the budget were withdrawn or diminished to try to compensate for that. But that is a wild ass guess on my part. There was a big push for the first version of the district races to get everybody and to reach out into the neighborhoods. But that they pulled back into City Hall for early voting. Mail-in voting, because it was not COVID, there still wasn't sort of the emphasis, the overemphasis. There wasn't a big statewide effort to push early voting. Like, there are other voices in our local race that weren't part of the background, right? So I think the city's diminished, and then I think the statewide effort just disappeared.
I would agree. I just reading comments that I've been seeing online, and just myself, I went and I did early voting, so I didn't have to go today. But I did see comments in regards to the polling locations, and I live in Centerville, and I knew Green Alge and I knew Robinson, but I didn't realize there were for different sides that you had to go to the other location. And I know I pay attention to everything, but I didn't even realize that myself until today. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, so I'm sure there was plenty that they went to the wrong polling location. So I won't say it's on the city, but I will say somewhat on the elections committee, because I don't think they pushed enough like they have in the past.
Only thing did I see something online that there might have been some tweaks because of the census results that might have caused some confusion?
So yeah, they did the 2021, even the district lines did get altered. I found Johnny Dakota was telling me this story that he found out one side of Oakland out there in the Highlands was Upper Highlands, the other side was Lower Highlands, and that change came about after 2021 because they had the delay in counting the census in 2020. So, and we were told back then, I remember Elliot Veloso and manager Eileen Donahue telling us that these lines are going to change again, likely in 2023. I think we all just forgot about them because I'll be honest with you, I think I follow it pretty closely, and I completely forgot about that until John Dakota told me a week and a half ago.
But I would bet that 100% of the people that wanted to cast ballots that would have been affected by those tweaks in the lines were able to cast ballots today. So again, I don't think that it's really on this particular turnout. I have no evidence to say that any efforts taken or not taken by the city would have caused this type of low turnout, if in fact the turnout comes in as low as we're predicting.
All righty, it is 7:29 p.m. You are tuned into Inside Lowell's live election night broadcast. About a half hour now from the polls closing throughout the city, and shortly thereafter we'll start to get some results, whether it's enough information to be able to call any of the races. I think we'll be able to call some of the district races, but the at-large race, given the fact that there are 1,290 some odd votes out there that have already been run through a machine at City Hall and then need to be added into the different polling precincts out there, that should have a little bit of drama. I'm guessing on the third and fourth spot, maybe so not so much spots 1 and 2, but we thank you for joining us here. Jake Vitali will be joining us as well in a half hour. He's going to sit in this chair for me while Asa Stutz and I head outside to start getting some of those numbers. And of course, the star of tonight's broadcast is the whiteboard out there where Asa Stutz will be putting some of those results up there and maybe drawing a map of the Ukraine or something, as he's known to do on the Power Hour.
What do you want? Ukraine, Gaza, we got them all.
None of them. We want Lowell numbers.
All right, tonight, fine. I'll stick with
All right. So let me ask this question: Who ran the best campaign of all the candidates out there? Who would you say ran the best campaign? Mona, start with you.
Skip for a moment.
Skip for a moment. You need to think about
I need
it.
to think about this.
That is a tough question. Since Mona just skipped, I feel like I can't. But, I thought, so we've seen, just through process of elimination, we've seen Rita's campaign. It's the same campaign. She always runs the pink and black sign. That's time itself. That is eternal. So it's the same campaign. Same thing with Vesna, more or less. I thought it was kind of the same campaign. So Gitcha is kind of a different tweak. Jumping to at-large. For jumping to at-large, I thought he got his message across the entire city pretty well. I think he's done pretty good at positioning himself as an at-large candidate. And I would say the same probably for Bobby Tubielli. I thought he did a really good job at sort of getting his name out there again. I know he did it the last cycle. I think he kind of continued, especially towards the end here, kept some momentum going. So I would say for me, it's a toss-up between Gitcher and Tubielli. The district races, they're all, again, they're not really all that competitive, so I can't really comment too much on those.
Check.
I'm going to agree. I think I would say, like, if you just talked about campaign, it would be super close between Bobby and Eric, but Eric has the benefit of really making his marks and his bones and his brand on Tuesday nights, in the local media, right? He's very good at Facebook, much better, I'd say, than Bobby is. I think Bobby's Facebook approach is very canned and sanitized. Whereas I think you see some fangs with Gitzier on his posts, and then there's some comic relief with his son and everything. So like, there's always something going on with the Gitziers on Facebook, right? So, but those two are, I'd say, neck and neck, but edge to Eric because of the incumbency. I would say ground game. That's Kim Scott. I know she was knocking very early. She knows this from back when she ran in school committee, that this is a person that knows how to work the ground game. And there's been lots of media buy, at least in terms of mail. But like, if you only live in one district, you see the at-large, then you might see one district. But if we were to look at OCPF, we might be able to look at some of the numbers that people invested in the month of October. There was some heavy expenditures. I think like Bobby spent whatever he had raised. I think he started with like $3,000 and he's got $3,000 left, right? So there's a lot of money being spent in mail. I remember hearing Danny just talking about stuff that he was doing, and same with Kim. Like, sometimes you'll sit around sort of after a meeting, or you catch conversations during meetings or before meetings, and they'll sort of talk to you about what they're up to. So there was a lot of mail, but mail is kind of like science. It's hard to say whether people really digest that.
Asa?
Best campaign?
Yeah.
Gitchier. In a landslide, for sure. Sneaky, though. Best ground game. Well, not the best, but Corey Belanger. I think he did a lot of work, the grinding work. And you might see that tonight. I don't know where people expect him to finish. Obviously, he wants to finish in the top 3. I don't know that he will, but I think he'll overperform tonight.
I should have mentioned him as kind of like an honorable mention, or a 1A, 1B, or 2A, or something like that, just because he was savvy enough to latch on to the anti-ADU sentiment. That's obviously
And he did it early.
a shrewd move. Yeah. I mean, the first time you had him on the podcast, he kind of hedged his bets a little bit. He's like, I don't like the old tired. I don't like the ordinance as written.
Right.
You know, what you want to move some commas? Like, what does that mean? But then he switched to full on anti-ADU, and then he also picked up on a little bit more of kind of one of his running themes is economic development, just as a response to here's how I'm going to help with your tax problems, basically. And all those pictures at Hamilton Canal, you know, I think that's kind of a smart move to appeal to a certain subset of voters. So I think he deserves credit for at least picking up on those things.
I'm going to agree with all of you to some extent. Bobby Tubielli ran a good campaign. I thought he ran a better campaign last time. I think he was more out there last time. I think he started too late this time. I think there was some indecision. He was going to run for school committee. It was announced twice, and he acknowledged it one time at a public event, then switched gears to run for city council. Didn't start fundraising really till end of August, September. You know, I think that might show a little bit. I think Gitchia ran the best campaign along with Corey Belanger. I thought Corey, I kind of identified, whether it works or not, we won't know until we start to see the numbers from the Riley. But early on, Corey identified Belvedere as the place he needs to be in order to offset what was anticipated to be a very high Highlands turnout for Eric Gitchier. And he was working his tail off out there. There were other times I've heard he doesn't work. He worked this time. And I heard that from a number of people, not just the candidate himself. So I thought Eric and Corey ran the two best campaigns, which is kind of interesting because that's the race we're all going to be watching tonight, right? For that
Is there any chance
third
that
city council spot?
he's gunning for one of those three incumbents? I know Gitchier's making the switch, but is Belanger more likely to beat Gitchier, or is he more likely to beat Vesna?
Ah, you said it. You took me where I wanted to go. So that's the rumbling I've been hearing lately from a number of people. Marty Laurie, former city council, says Vesna Nude's going to finish out of the money. He switched too late on ADUs. Jack doesn't have Vesna finishing out of the money, but you in your column the other day, the sleeping giant stirring, you said Vesna goes from 1 to 3.
Yes.
Passed by Eric Gitchier. You still think that's the case as we sit here this evening?
I think that if we really do have the low turnout, I think Rita's vote is the most resilient. So if in 2021 she picked up 5894, I'd be surprised if she drops below 5,000. All right, I think her vote is the most resilient. It's hard to say what happens with Vesna because a lot of it is scare tactics. Brian Martin in the Belvedere Mafia or whatever they are. They can try to cast a shadow.
Lowell Monopoly, we call it.
It's the downtown Lowell mafia. It's the downtown mafia.
the Market Street mafia.
The Belvedere cabal.
Oh, okay, yeah. So,
Get your terms right.
but I left the country clubs out of it. I've been trying to let those guys a break. Otherwise, we have more potholes and crappy parks. We want to leave the golf courses out of it. I don't know what they do with Vesna. Do they just he changed his vote so all is good, or to the people that the ADU people say hey, I thought you were a progressive leader. You bailed on us when it got a little hot. I don't know how that goes. I do think because he's the top vote getter, if he was habitually 3, I think he'd be super vulnerable. But I think he's got enough place to fall. And then and Gitchier is, they're saying everybody's talking. They all have his name on their lips, right? So I don't know where that gets him. It's really hard to say.
Mona?
I think that Eric is going to surprise everyone. I think he might even be number 1. But that's my...
You've been talking to Marty Laurie, haven't you?
No. No.
That was his prediction, too.
But I think that... and I kind of just wanted to go back about the campaigning as well for a moment, who put the best. And I do think it was Eric, and I also think it was Bobby. Bobby did do things a little bit different. And I know that you don't like mail. I like the flyers that get sent So whoever I like, I put in my fridge. I'm old school, still like that. But Bobby did do a great job with like counting down the days, getting emails, and I have seen him in holding signs. There's been a lot of signs in the places, I guess, that are more important, if you will, in the Belvedere section. Some of the other candidates, I will say, that are on the at-large, I know that it does depend on what area you're campaigning, but I will say about like Corey Belanger, I don't see his signs at all in my area. Have not seen him around. There's a few of them. I don't see them where I'm from. And if you're running at large, you really should be spreading yourself out. So my take is a little bit different. But I do think Eric is going to be up there.
All right.
Number one, even.
Some high finishes predicted for Eric Gitcher. We shall find out in, about 20 minutes or so. We shall begin finding out, I should say, in 20 minutes or so. Let me ask this question. If we see a surprise tonight, where's it going to be? And you might have revealed it right there, Mona, with saying you think Eric Gitcher may top the at-large ticket. Is that your surprise? Or it's not a surprise to you, so where might there be a surprise?
I don't have one, but I think that one would be, if there's a surprise, it's going to be that one.
Ryan?
The at-large.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good call.
Are you willing to go that far?
Well, no, I'll have to think of a new one. But I guess what I would say, if I'm Corey Belanger and there's a very low turnout, he's been good for about 4,000 votes every time he runs. It's always right around 4,000. Sometimes it's like 3.9. Sometimes it's as high as 4.7. So if those 4,000 are diehard Belanger people, and we've got 7,000 people showing up to vote today, then I think there's a chance he sneaks in. I don't know who he overtakes, but I'd be encouraged by that if those 4,000 people were ride or die Belanger people. So I think that would be my biggest surprise if he can sneak on somehow.
Knowing Corey, I just have a feeling either way it's going to be
It'll be
a dramatic victory or a crushing defeat.
Like before the Pelham won. And then
he'll be leading until they bring the mail-in vote in at City Hall.
You have a track record with this, too.
Yes, I most certainly do. Don't blame me for that one. Blame Panji for that one.
My heart was like the Grinch for Corey that night. Because, I like Corey. He's a likable guy, right? But I don't vote for Corey. He's not the guy that I'm looking for on the council. But when that happened to him, my heart went like 3 times. I was like, oh my God, that's crushing. No one deserves that. Surprise, Susie Chun beats Scott, Kim Scott. Mm-hmm. That would be a surprise.
To change my vote.
To me, that's the race to watch. Yeah. And it could be the race to watch in a number of instances, in particular for who's going to be your next mayor. But I think if the turnout goes a certain way, and we know it's very light, who comprises that turnout? If the Southeast Asian population, if that Vesna machine comes out big in South Lowell, and that's who those 630 voters are.
I think they were, yes.
If that's a big part of it, then I think that could be your potential for a surprise. That said, the information I was getting is that wasn't necessarily the case out there in South Lowell. Nathan, you were out there actually, right?
Kim Scott won 58-42 last time. Okay. So she's got some room to work with. And the numbers are shrinking, so it would definitely be an upset. Susie Chun's a much better candidate.
Right, Susie Chun's a much better candidate. That female versus male fact, one-on-one race.
Yeah, she's got name recognition.
Is usually favored.
Actually, I think I met her out there today. She seemed very friendly.
She is. She's
the whole crew of them seemed very nice. But yeah, for upsets, I guess I'd have to go the same. I mean, it would have to be low turnout. Corey Belanger does really well in Belvedere and just holds on to beat Vesna. But Vesna is so fluky in the ballot box. We've seen the last time he got knocked out, I think in that election, he won more precincts than anybody and finished 10th.
Yes, he
did. So his results are fluky. Corey has to beat him by hundreds and hundreds of votes in Belvedere, Upper Highlands, Centerville, and just hold on for dear life I don't know that this is the right election for that, but if you want one, that's the only one I can think of. I actually don't think it's going to happen, but it could.
Yeah, I do not see that speculation, him dropping out. Jack kind of, it's strictly a numbers thing. Jack, and you referenced this earlier, 6,179 votes last time. He's really going to drop. I mean, he was.
Well, they're all going to drop, right?
Right, but he was 2,050 votes ahead of Bobby Tubielli, first and fourth.
Right.
Vesna's not dropping that much. I don't care how many activists don't show up because they're mad that he flipped for ADU.
But let's just say
had he voted for ADUs, I might be inclined to
say Corey was on the
that.
ballot in place of Bobby T in that race. There's an extra 1,000 votes, right? He can get there. There's a path, but I don't see it. What do you think the top vote getter is going to get? Like you just said, what was it, 6,200?
So
6,300?
6179.
That was the top.
Rita 5894, Drinkwater 5707, and then a big drop to 4126.
Will anybody get 5,000 votes?
I'd be shocked. I think you'd be lucky to get
I
4,000.
think Rita does.
I don't think so.
She's going to be close to. She's going to be close to it. Her vote is baked in. All right, it's tattooed. Rita.
It's not all dead like we were led to believe the last
There's
4
some
years.
natural attrition.
They're all dying.
But, okay, so she got 5,800. She got 5,890. All ones 5,900. So you think there's been 900 obituaries?
But no, you're
They
saying
read them at every
person.
single council meeting, every single one, every last
And
word.
the other thing is, I talk to a lot of people in their 40s and 50s in communities of color where Rita is spoke about fondly. All right, like the DEI crew have sort of tried to talk about her and brand her because they needed a foil so that when they are in the discussion fighting for the soul of Lowell, right, they use her, and she's not that person. I mean, she's rough around the edges and she's old school, and I'm sure at Thanksgiving there are some cringes, but she's not what they've tried to make her out to be.
But
Stop talking
people are still
about
going to
the
stay home.
DEI crew, because everything they say is not wrong. I'm
I
just
didn't
saying.
say that.
Okay.
But like when we're
I'm
going
just
to run
saying
around
because you know
saying,
about DEI.
well, no, because
B.
frankly, I think
There we go.
this whole racism is a public health crisis, right? I'm not going to argue the merits of it, but it was more about a branding thing. When you watch political slogans cascade across the country, emanate out of Boston, all right, then when it hits locally, I doubt its sincerity. So I think that the Lowell Community Health Center has a vested interest in saying that racism is a health crisis. I think there's funding associated to it somehow in ways that we don't understand. I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist. I am saying that when Laura Smith takes the podium, she says that, and as far as I know, she's one of the elders that's very well respected.
She is.
She says Lowell isn't perfect, right? But it is way ahead of the game. So when someone that's been living here for 40 years, 50 years, right, since coming up from the South, versus someone that I don't know, graduated Harvard and came in and said like, oh, we're gonna take these bumper stickers and we're gonna throw them around the city of Lowell. They don't stick. And I have a problem with that, and I'm not going to let them off the hook until they start changing their tactics.
That is fair enough, and I'll respect your opinion, but I do differ from your opinion.
That's a long way to say Rita's getting 5,000 votes.
Jack never says anything in few words. He's like the Bill Simmons of Inside Lowell.
I want to go back to Susie Chun and Kim Scott, right? So we were talking about Vesna, like how far could he fall? But he was so far ahead, right? Now, is there a difference between Tooch Van and Susie Chun?
Yes.
Yes, if you've met them and talked to them, right? But their base of support, do you think there's a difference between their base of support?
Yes.
How different?
That's actually a really good question.
She's been on the ballot in Belvedere. I mean, that.
Yeah, but
never
she's
heard.
not in the ballot. She's not in the ballot in Belvedere.
It's name recognition citywide.
So Tooch Van got 480 votes against Kim Scott. Kim Scott got 660. So what? She's 180 votes over Tooch Van. If everything goes down, who do you think vote is more resilient? Tooch Van's vote or Kim Scott's vote?
You've actually convinced me. That's actually a very good point. 'Cause I looked at the fact that Susie's a much better candidate, and also again the woman versus woman as opposed to woman versus man thing. So I thought Susie was probably going to be closer, but the way you kind of put it there. Plus, and you also, we can't discount what being an incumbent. I mean, Kim was telling over and over again how she brought the same amount of money for the parks in South Lowell that went to some of the more traditional neighborhoods that get that money. And that's why ultimately I think this system is going to fail to generate the big turnout and the engagement that everybody thinks it will. I think it'll make for better government. I think it's already made
That's all you
for
want,
better
right?
government.
Who cares if?
But
I
in
mean,
terms of
that's the goal.
engagement, if Susie Chun can't take Kim Scott down, who in South Lowell is? If Bob Gignac couldn't take down Corey Robinson, couldn't even catch a sniff of him, who's going to take Corey Robinson down as long as Corey wants that seat?
Oh,
and you could have said
avoid the landmines, and you're good for the next 20.
Could have said the same for Eric Gitcher in the Highlands. I bet you'll be able to say the same for Johnny Dakota after going forward.
That you've laid out, they've performed very well representing their districts. I think of the three that you just named, Kim was, I'm not District 5 or whatever, but just watching from the outside, I think she's done a really good job. Corey, I think, has done a really good job for Centerville. So it's almost, why would you need to take them out? You're not going to beat them. You'd have to make the case that you could improve upon the job that they're doing. And again, just watching that debate that you had with Kim and Susie, maybe Susie wins in a popularity contest, but she was unable to say how she would be a better city councilor than what Kim has shown the past 2 years.
Susie was very deferential to Kim.
Yeah.
And
Which is a cultural thing, though, I think, as well. I think that's I've had conversations with people who've told me that's one of the issues with Susie not wanting to challenge Dave Conway in that school committee
she
race.
wasn't deferential on the steps of City Hall.
No. She's but the thing she's passionate about, Cambodian politics and Vesna Noon for mayor, she can get fired up.
Yeah, but South Lowell, why would they care about that? They want them. They want to see her fired up with them. Right.
That's what I want to see out of Susie Chun the next couple of years.
And Kim is methodical, steady hand on the rudder. Like, no, whatever. I'm friends with Kim. Susie seems fine, but you're not going to get a better counselor. You're not going to get a better counselor than Kim Scott.
Can I give them all credit for leaving the national and international politics out of it?
Yes.
I mean,
even
there
Justin
are
Ford.
so many.
Not once did Justin Ford mention it
different
in his debate
topics.
with Tyree, which I thought it was coming for sure.
The trend was going in the wrong direction for Lowell,
Yep.
for every city government, all national, all AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these morons. It was heading in that direction, and it's just.
I'm glad you picked one from each side to call it
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's just, it stayed out of it somehow, and it's just great. And it's not even the national stuff, international. Like we always talk about Ukraine and stuff on our show. Go back to Cambodia. They've got their first new prime minister for the first time in almost 40 years. I know it's the son, but that's a big deal. And you've seen it seep into elections in Lowell before, and it really didn't. So just credit to everyone on the ballot for not going in that direction, just keeping it about Lowell. Good job.
All righty, polls close in about 7 minutes, and that's when Jake Vitali will come sit in this seat that I've kept nice and warm for him with my big butt. Jake will take you through the 8 to 9 o'clock hour, actually 8 to 10 o'clock hour, along with Jack and Ryan and Mona and Asa and I will head out there, start to try to gather some vote totals. Asa will be in to report on our whiteboard over there, so we'll get you some of the data as soon as it's available. Also, you want to follow us on Twitter. At InsideLowell on Twitter is the Twitter handle. We'll be putting the results out there for you as well, as we have been all day long. And also in just a couple of minutes, we're going to hear about a couple of our sponsors who have helped to make this election night coverage possible. All of our Inside Lowell podcasts possible, and for that matter, all of Inside Lowell possible. But I do want to take a moment to acknowledge all of our other sponsors as well. You're going to hear about Unicare. You're going to hear about Washington Savings Bank. You're going to hear about Hafner's and Reverie 73 and Boston North Company and Mahoney Oil Company in just a couple of minutes. But I do want to thank also Francis E. Preventure Insurance of Lowell. I also want to thank my good friend Real Estate Ray Booten. Spectacle Live, boy, they're busy this season out there at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. The next couple of months, they've got a ton of shows there, and in the Nashua Arts Center, the brand new building up there. Thank you to our friends at IBEW, Local 2321. Lowell Lock and Key, Mike Colley. Thank you as well to Mike. Thank you to my friends at Spin City Laundromat, keeping my clothes. I mean, I kind of wrinkled this shirt a little bit today, and I fill it out a little too much, but they keep me looking spiffy and clean. Thank you, Spin City Laundromat. McKenna Willette D'Amato Funeral Home. I hope you don't need them anytime soon, but in time of your family's need, they're a pretty good choice for you. Greater Merrimack Valley Convention and Visitors Bureau, adventures await. The Stones Hospitality Group, Cobblestones in Lowell, Moonstones in Chelmsford, Great Eats, Action King Services, Unitas, Christopher's Towing, The Worthen, Lowell's oldest and most historic tavern, Phil Tebow Architect, Duville Life and Wellness, the Lowell Philharmonic Orchestra, Rizzo's Roast Beef and Pizza. Rizzo supplied some sandwiches for our crew tonight, so I hope as all you folks are taking advantage of my talking here in the upcoming commercial, you get out there, do a quick bathroom break, and also grab yourself some Rizzo's Roast Beef and Pizza. For those of you at home watching, they deliver. Give them a shout. Thank you as well to our friends at the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, Stellar Web Studios, who designed the Inside Lowell website, the Lowell Summer Music Series, and the Merrimack Valley Wi-Fi Pros. And with that, let me turn back to, we got now Jack Mitchell, Ryan Gilday are here. All right, we've got a couple more minutes before I turn over the big seat to Jake and we start getting our results in. Who's going to be the mayor? Who's going to be the mayor getting sworn in 2024?
Yes, no?
Let's start slow. Who's trying to be mayor?
The
Vesna
two,
and Danny, right?
Vesna Noon, Danny Rourke. Tell me how that District 5 race turns out, and I think I can tell you who's going to be mayor.
I don't think Vesna has the votes, even if Susie Chun were to get it.
Really? Ooh. What do you know?
I don't know anything.
Yep, come on, spill it.
Don't you know that people?
Spill it, Mitchell.
Don't
You know
that
something.
people lie to insiders.
You,
they try to set us up.
That's really far out on the limb to go there.
Yeah.
To say that Vesna Noon doesn't even have the votes with
Well, who would his votes
Susie
be?
Chun?
So let's just say there's Vesna, right?
Vesna, Susie, Wayne Janess.
Okay, there's three.
There's three.
Is Yem, are they on the outs with each
Ooh,
other?
that's a good question.
Because I think that would obviously be,
My info is
possibly
Paul. Yeah,
determined.
might be a different vote this time around.
that'd be stunning.
Interesting. Could he get a Eric Gitchier or a Corey Robinson? Could he get an anti-Danny Rourke vote?
I think there's an anti-Danny. That's you.
That's me. That's
There's an anti-Danny Rourke vote, but is it a Vesna vote?
so none of you mentioned the name Rita Mercier, who to me is the one person to watch in this. If Rita says, you know what, thank you, voters of Lowell, really appreciate it. By the way, this is going to be my last term on the council because I want to see my name on the building out there at the senior center, and they're not going to let me have it until I actually step down from the council. And I'd like to go out as mayor. It's a tough. That's a tough person to say no to if she comes up to you as a counselor and
Did you
asks.
see her
that, right?
phone?
I did. It was Corey.
Yeah, but like you're talking to us about who could mayor be when you have it like a very likely city councilor for next, right?
I have to go to the 8 o'clock broadcast. We'll talk to Corey at the end of the show.
Yeah, you just tell Corey when he's going to call back.
Corey, if you're watching, call back after 9 o'clock, and then we'll
He's
get
not-
you on the air.
Yeah, he must be.
And he may offer a hint at that point.
Yeah.
Would Rita want to do
I'm gonna-
the whole thing again, the school committee and all the things that the mayor has to do? I mean, obviously, as you said, if she wanted it, could she
think he
have
wants
the
to
pull
talk
to do
now.
it?
So that's the thing with Rita, is when she was mayor, the role was a little different. It was a lot more ceremonial, and you had to go to a lot less ceremonies. You didn't have 72 flag raisings or ribbon cuttings at every business, etc. And she is still working. And you remember, she got in trouble last time. People started saying, how come you're not showing up at the sheriff's office and blah, blah, blah. You remember her detractors going after her for that. So would she want to put herself in that position again?
As you said, it's a farewell tour, then maybe, but you know.
I think Rita might make a great vice mayor, especially if there was a mayor that might have a challenge with all the public relations ribbon cutting stuff, but somebody that could be solid in the chair and managing the gavel, and then someone you'd have to have the best of vice mayors to really do the ribbon cutting, and Bud Caulfield, he probably would be the best sort of glad hander, right? But he's not available, so Rita might be that person.
So
people love Rita.
So I'll tell you, I asked Rita that exact question on Sunday. Do you want it? And she said, "Listen, first thing I have to do is get reelected." Now, she gave me the very political answer. But I have, we'll save this for the after results portion of our show when we get into the analysis. I have heard some things that make me think that she does not want to make that commitment, that she can't commit to it, at least the mayor's spot. So we'll leave it at that. It is now 8 p.m. The polls have closed here in the city of Lowell. That means I need to get out there along with Asa Stutz and start getting some information. Jake Vitali is going to sit in the big seat here and take you through the results show along with Mona, Tyree, Ryan Gilday, Jack Mitchell. You are tuned into Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place. Don't go anywhere. We're back in about a minute and 20 seconds.
You're tuned in to Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. Unicare, offering a variety of plans for people insured under the GIC. At Unicare, your health is their top priority. Reverie 73, Lowell's #1 cannabis shop. Elevate your cannabis experience at Reverie 73. Hafner's, heating and cooling homes and businesses for nearly a century. Become a part of the Hafner's family. It kicks. Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. And by Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
And we are back on Inside Lowell's live election night coverage. We got some results coming your way over the next hour. The polls have officially closed here in the city of Lowell. I am Jake Vitali, and I am in studio right now with Ryan Gilday.
What's up, Jake?
It's good to be with you, Ryan. We have been around this city talking about city council, writing about it for a long time.
You're a professional. I'm a hack.
A former professional, recovering journalist.
Nevertheless, you did a great job. I miss your reporting on the council, 100%.
Well, I appreciate that. So the polls have officially closed. I was listening to some of the conversation that was going on earlier. What do you think we're going to see, especially as results trickle in here? You think somebody's going to have a big lead and they're going to end up, maybe a strong pop at the beginning, not being able to carry it all the way from there?
I'll give you a very disappointing answer. I don't know. I don't know how the numbers are going to break down early on, nor at the end of the night, actually. So I'm kind of just holding on and just kind of seeing how things end up coming in. I based on what we've heard earlier, it does sound like it's going to be a low turnout, and I think that could lead to some unpredictability in some of these races. So I'm as curious as anyone else to see what's going to happen. So
with the curiosity, some of these races seem like foregone conclusions at this point. Sakari Chow in District 6, for example, he kind of feels like he's a lock for that seat. What, aside from the at-large race, do you have your eyes on any of the district races right now? Yeah,
we were talking a little bit about District 5 before you came in, so that's probably the one to watch, the closest one, I would say. I'm curious about Sakari and Justin, though. I want to see if Justin can build on the 200-something votes he had the first time around, so
Sure,
it's David and Goliath,
I have an unconscious bias there
I
because
do
that's
know you
where
have
I've
an
spent
unconscious bias there,
a
yeah.
good portion of my day so far.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how and if he can improve upon what he's already done. So especially going against the candidate who spent $35,000 in a district that had about 1,000 votes last time around.
Yeah. We have the results from last year.
Yeah.
Right in front of us.
Going on memory
too.
there, but yeah. So 706. So there's 1,005. So I was pretty close to the number of votes in 2021. Obviously, that's going to be less this time around. So yeah, just very curious to see what happens there. Everything else, I don't have much curiosity in. Unfortunately, I wish there was, but there isn't.
When we look at the races that have gone on this year, the role of social media is playing a much bigger role in things now than it did in the past. Eric Gitchier and Corey Robinson are particularly effective when it comes to their social media campaign. How do you think the role of the digital side of things is going to factor in as opposed to candidates who are running more of that traditional lane like Corey Belanger and Rita, who are, really driven not so much on social media, but that sort of old school grind it out door to door.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Rita, her voter base is probably not going to be reached on social media to begin with. So it makes a lot of sense for her to campaign the traditional way through her interpersonal relationships. In terms of the social media I see as part of your campaign strategy, I don't know how effective that is. I'm not a campaign guy. Jack is more than I am. I tell you, what I respond to personally is when they can sustain their social media engagement over a longer period of time. So earlier, Jack was talking about, I think you were talking about just Eric and how he will pontificate on Facebook, long post about his rationale for whatever he's doing or trying to push or whatever he's opposing. I think that, for me, that connects with me more than getting an Instagram story from some candidate or whatever. I mean, I guess it's all just kind of noise that must make some difference. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it or invest money in it. But for me, I like to see that more sustained type of engagement in social media, and I think that it's good. I actually enjoy when a candidate is willing to offer their real thoughts and not just some packaged nonsense on social media. So that's where I'm coming from.
I mean, that makes sense. They're not apples and oranges. So like Rita has, she has a baked in base of support. All right. I mean, they've been around since like Telegraph and stuff. So they're not looking, it's not that, maybe people in their 70s and 80s they look at Facebook or whatever, but are they using it for news aggregation? That's hard to say. Sorry if I'm all looking at my phone.
We've all got people that are going to be feeding us stuff throughout the evening here. So it's not like we're, in school and you're in trouble for looking at your phone.
I think like it's different to sort of judge a Rita Mercier's social media, which is basically non-existent, right, to Eric Gitzier or Corey Robinson. On Lowell live feed, I noticed that there was effective use by like Wayne Jeunesse. And it's also not just going on and posting content. You can get into some dialogue. What I've seen Wayne use and also Corey Robinson was in like constituent services. People would post like, hey, I got a pothole, or I've got this, that, or the other thing. Like, how do I get that fixed? And almost both of them consistently are like, hey, there's an app for that, right? Whatever that city, because they'll lead with that, right? But then they'll say, I've made a call, or I'm working on getting that resolved. Like, let me know if it isn't. So it's a type of office. Social media can be a type of office hours for the newer version of city councilor.
I agree.
Yep.
I think that Bobby did a pretty good job at, some of his campaign content I found just interesting and compelling. Just basically when he would go out and just like, take pictures of himself campaigning at like, different restaurants in downtown or whatever, it just kind of creates the impression of just someone being everywhere, basically. Amanda Gregory did some of the same thing too, right? Where she'd be around. You just see her everywhere in the city. So it affects my the way I viewed certain candidates in terms of how hard they're campaigning, just by virtue of seeing them on social media.
Interesting.
Yeah.
To see how that public perception kind of changes, just based on putting up pictures of yourself at a restaurant with, some supporters you just met.
Amplify a message, certainly.
I mean, this is not it's a weird kind of polling, I guess, but like, and I generally don't talk a lot about Lowell Live.
Well, actually, I was going to ask, what all of you had kind of seen out there on social media and sort of, what the reception was.
But I can tell you this, because it was something that I've sort of learned to take a note of, is if a candidate or a public person, but let's say candidates, they're posting stuff regularly, how much interaction are they getting? Right? And so just today on Lowell Live feed, there was a post by Eric Gitzier. All right. There's 9 comments, but there's 73 likes or loves or laughed at, whatever they are, right? Reactions, they call them in Facebook land, right? Corey Robinson post, Bobby Tubielli, this one, 20. So that's like 4 times less. All right. Yeah. What does that mean? I don't know.
Does it translate to votes?
Right. Our likes, our reactions, don't vote kind of thing, like, like yard signs, right? Corey posted something. He got 5, right? Justin Ford got 3. I posted just a thing to remind people there was 3 reactions to that. Wayne Jeunesse has 23. So sort of just in that like little sample, Eric Gitzier had the most reaction, and it followed by Wayne Jeunesse. But what does that tell you? It's like a Lowell Sun poll. It tells you the people that are following that Facebook page, how they react to this content. And it's got nothing to do with sort of like how the city thinks. It's just the people that are in this forum.
Now, forgive me if this is something that's already been hashed out in the first hour, but what do you think is driving the projected very low turnout in this race today? Is it just because some of these races sort of feel like they're over before they're, officially done with, or is it a marketing issue on behalf of the city and candidates? Why are we seeing such low turnout?
We did talk about it earlier, but I would just say it's just low turnout because there's nothing really interesting going on, and no one's really coming out with anything new. They don't have anything new to offer. Not that every candidate is the same, but they really don't have anything new to offer.
Do we have
Want some results?
We got some results.
First one. It's a small one. And a full disclaimer, I'm going to say it every time, or maybe I won't, but that's okay. We're good. There's about 1,300 votes at City Hall. Mm-hmm. So all these are unofficial. There's going to be more between the drop-off and the mail-in, so there's that. But this is the Green Alge, District 4. Oh, raw numbers to you. Citywide, Rita Mercier, 59. Vesna, 42. Corey Belanger, 47. Eric Gitzier, 54. Bobby Tubielli, 43. Virak Oy, 15. And on the district race, we've got Wayne Jeunesse, 73. Amanda Gregory, 25. School committee citywide, uncontested, doesn't matter. And Eileen Del Rossi, uncontested. So there you go. That's going to be one of the smaller ones we have, but we are on the board. I'll be back with more.
All right, so we got our first.
All right, let's make insane conclusions based on that.
All right, Asa acting as our version of Steve Kornacki tonight. We got the whiteboard up here, and we'll be filling that in as the night goes along here. And unfortunately, we don't have that digital map that we can zoom in street by street.
it.
You know, A Street is going one way or the other, but
Be a lot of
If
street.
we got a map like that, I want to get paid. I'm just saying, like, that seems like some money should be in our pocket.
If you got money for an interactive
Yeah.
map, then you got money for
That's right.
Jack Mitchell's post and the Little
Not
Citizen.
just me, not just me. Yeah, right.
Yeah, there
That's
you
right.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's show the love.
There are sandwiches out there, so we're not. It's not completely without compensation. I
true.
did drink 2 beers at the launch party, so
That was a good time.
that was a great time, actually.
so reaction to the first little bit of a trickle that
Very
we got
tightly
here.
bunched. I mean, that's basically
Except for Barack, right?
well, except for Barack. Yeah. I wasn't expecting him to be in that
Yeah.
the same class of the top 5. So yeah, it's very close, obviously. Marta Gregory 25. Again, tough to draw conclusions here, but I'm surprised she got that many
Yeah, it seems like doing already better.
than what I would have projected.
Than
but yeah,
expected.
Yeah.
So the at-large race looking like that's going to be a nail biter so far.
More results like that, absolutely. You know,
Yeah. So Eric did better. This is downtown. This is the downtown district,
there's the sausage
right?
district.
Because Dwayne was in it, right? So
yeah. Right. Out of the green allage.
out of the greenhouse.
Yeah.
So that's across the river.
Yeah. Lowest
Right.
level.
All right, and a little bit of it's basically from University Ave towards Beaverbrook, right?
Yes, that little
Right, and
that
then-
little
Yeah.
nugget of Centerville. Yeah.
And then the Lakeview Ave part
Yeah.
from Aiken on. Okay, that makes sense.
Back up more.
We got more.
All right. Another small one here. We've got the Lowell Senior Center. So this is District 6, the Sakari Chow District.
And do you also have the District 7 with Paul Ratayem mixed in here? Since,
No.
Senior
So
Center?
yeah, so they print off of different machines. Sometimes you're there, you get one, you wait for the other, but we're on it. District 6, again, just raw numbers. At large, Rita Mercier 51, Vesna 59, Corey Belanger 30, Eric Gitchier 37, Bobby Tubielli 22, Virak Oy 54. Big number there. And this is the District 6 race. Sakari Chow 74, Justin Ford 28. Uncontested school race. That's that.
So Barack having a much stronger showing in the Lower Highlands District. than-
Yeah, that's kind of a combo acre Lower Highlands.
Yeah.
My people, where I grew up.
That makes sense.
But for VRAC, that's a small
It's a
district,
big
but a
number.
big number.
It's a big number.
That puts him back into more serious contention than we'd
100%.
seen off of that first
I'll be back with more.
drop.
Oh, I didn't do my disclaimer. More votes at City Hall.
There are more votes coming from City Hall. We have the mail-in ballots, the drop-box ballots that will also play a role in all of this.
I gotta think of a better way to do this.
Yeah, because I'm going to make it
Be a
copy.
mess. I've got like little scraps of paper.
So Bobby Tubielli seems to be putting some points on the board here.
43 in District 4 and 22 in District 6. So, yeah, I mean, they're all still very closely bunched, and I suspect that they will continue to be as more of these small numbers come in.
Where do we start seeing the separation amongst the at-large candidates? Is there one district you think
District.
that's going to put somebody over the top?
1, 3, and what is it, 8? Obviously, the big turnout ones. Obviously, whatever 3, so goes 3, I guess. So goes the at-large race. But with these small, with the low turnout, I don't know how much I could rely on that.
I mean, Belvedere is going to drive
Yeah.
it. Upper Highlands. It used to be that Christian Hill had kind of it used to be Ward 9,
Mm.
and whereas Lower Centerville was Ward 5. So there was a differentiation there, but that doesn't exist now. It's all District 2. So, I don't expect the Christian Hill to just stop participating, right? So they'll count for something. But it's going to be Belvedere, Pawtuckaville, and the Upper Highlands.
Upper Highlands. Mona, I want to bring you in the conversation. What do you think of what we're seeing so far?
It's interesting and it's very tight. I think so. I'm not quite sure where the numbers are going to come from, what areas, but it's quite interesting.
I thought Gitcher came in low for that last one. That was senior center, right?
Yes.
Do you remember what that district was?
6.
That's District 6, so that would be Lower Highlands,
Right.
kind of the acre. So it's kind of got a section of both.
Right, that's Sakari, right?
Yes, that's
Part of
Sakari's
Sakari-
district.
One of Sakari's. I think each district has 2 polling locations, so that's half of Sakari's votes.
Yeah, and that's a new wrinkle this year. When we did this 2 years ago, everybody had one,
Right.
and then the map was redrawn after that first election.
They did. I think they did a better job with polling locations for this election. We could go back and sort of re-examine whether they did the outreach that they needed to do to try to let people know that they weren't voting at certain locations. I know there was a lot of sort of solicitation. I wouldn't call it solicitation, but nudging voters with information saying like, "Hey, you're here, there." They had a pretty big mail budget, which didn't seem to be the same this year.
That came up on the forum. The woman asked, where was it? How was I supposed to know? And it might have even been Corey who said you got a postcard, or someone said they sent out postcards, or someone reported that the election office said that they had sent out postcards.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The Elections Commission is really responsible for making sure the proper things are done.
Mm.
And if people aren't paying attention to what the Elections Commission's doing, I don't know. Like, it's kind of our own fault if we don't get the outcomes that we're looking for.
One thing I'd heard on the ground today that I think will be interesting to see if this plays a role in turnout and how these races go is that there were a number of people who had requested the mail ballot, and those ballots never arrived. So if those ballots didn't arrive, did they turn around and cast ballots, or did they just sit this one out because of voter disenfranchisement?
That's a pretty hefty word right there. Voter disenfranchisement. That also almost sounds intentional.
I don't think that's an intentional word, but when you request a ballot and you go through the proper process and it doesn't show up,
Right.
what's your incentive to follow through on
How did they
voting?
request a ballot? So the process for 2021 was different because we were sort of still under emergency law, right? Which meant probably, and I'm kind of guessing, right? Because the emergency order, declaration, whatever the hell it was, the state was offsetting municipalities for some of these additional costs, right?
Yep.
So now we're outside emergency declaration. What's the municipal's obligation under Mass General Law? Right. I know that there's been good things going on about like trying to continue some of the efforts that were done, and there was votes on that. But you hear the headlines, but you never really know like how the axe meets the grindstone on these things. And if people think because they mailed in 2021 that it was sort of a default for them in 2023, and I read that forum a lot, and I look for trends. One, squeaky wheel.
And we got Asa joining us with some more information.
All right, here we go. This is District 5. So this is the Kim Scott,
cool.
Susie Chun.
Ooh, yeah.
So I'll give you again the raw numbers. Last time I'll do the disclaimer. There's 1,300 votes at City Hall. These numbers are unofficial. These numbers will change. District 5, citywide. Rita Mercier, 126. Vesna, 85. Corey Belanger, 99. Eric Gitchier, 125. Bobby Tubielli, 56. Virak Oy, 45. For the council seats, the district seat, Kim Scott, 174. Susie Chun, 64. We've now got 2 of the 3 in that race, and we are currently at Kim Scott, 404. Susie Chun, 226. Kim Scott's looking very good in that race. Citywide, through 3 of the precincts, we are at Rita, 236. Eric Gitchier, 216. Vesna, 191. Corey Belanger, 176. Bobby Tubielli, 121. Virak, 115. These are 3 of the smaller precincts we have so far. And we'll get right back to you in a second, but according to Teddy's phone, Paul Rathayem has declared victory. So he's got the numbers. He's been sending them. He's tallied them. We'll give you the actual numbers, but according to Paul Rathayem, he's won his race. I'll be back with more.
What did you say the total for Susie was?
The one I just read there?
226?
I believe that's
404 to 226.
Yes. 404 to 226 with 2 of the 3.
Okay.
Back with more.
Bobby's low number in South Lowell was not a good, because the people canvassing for Susie are canvassing for Bobby,
So there's,
right? Like it's a. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't know if they're dropping lit at the same time, but the activists that are attracted to Bobby are activists that would be attracted to Susie. So that doesn't bode well.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
When I heard Bobby's number, I was like, oh.
So if it ends now, it's a little bit soon, but Rita gets your invest now. Basically the 3 that everyone on this side of the table had predicted 2 weeks ago. But
I think going into this, it was sort of I think everybody thinks Rita and Vesna are locked in for 2 of those seats, and it was really that seat that's been occupied now by John Drinkwater. Who's going to get that 3rd seat that's no incumbents in, if you want to look at it that way.
yeah, I mean, Jack called it that Kim was going to cruise 2 weeks ago, and it certainly seems to be playing out that way based on 2 out of the 3.
If you don't like the camera angle, just go like this. Just be like, yo.
Just flash some signs.
Yeah, that's the number 3 that I gotta hit. Like I can grab Asa with the 4, but I gotta go to 3 so that it's we can see your face.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, I want to have the attention on you folks. I'd rather just be a voice that people don't have to look at.
Oh, it's radio guy, print guy, radio guy.
Although Jacob would show up in a lot of city council meetings in the background, walking around with his camera, so you can see him. He's been on camera quite a bit.
You got to be young. You got to be a full spectrum media guy these days.
You really do.
All right.
At large race, I mean, I think it's still up for grabs, though. I don't think
Very much so. Yeah.
absolutely.
Corey Belandre's having, I think, a fairly strong showing so far, but he's still got to pick up more votes in Belvedere or Pawtucketville to supplant one of the others.
I'm just gonna make sure at some point that Teddy and Asa are on hold in the Belvedere numbers, so that people will stay watching for
To
a
add
while.
drama.
Yeah. That's the way it was done over at the Shamrock.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
They would get the numbers, but then they would sort of feed them.
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
Right. You sell more Bud Lights that way.
So, the Kim Scott and Susie Chun race. I know you folks were talking prior kind of about the race that happened 2 years ago with Kim and Tooch Van.
Yeah.
Do you think we're sort of seeing the exact same thing play out here?
More of a blowout so far, right? I mean, was it?
I mean, I don't know.
I guess I'm surprised by that because Susie has had a lot of visibility. And she's been a very active and I think good campaigner. So I'm surprised that
has
this is
definitely
not
been out there.
much tighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're not the table at CNN, but I think one way to do it was which one just got read off
That,
for Susie and you need the whiteboard? Because what I would look at is in the school committee race of 2021, you'll see the two polling locations, right, or the 2 ward precincts in the district. So wouldn't you be able to compare the turnout numbers?
Yeah. We didn't get the precincts when he read them off.
Yeah.
While you think of that, I'll give you an update. Paul Rathayem is going to win his race. We don't have the exact numbers, but one of the 2 precincts for him at the senior center, he won 253 to 110. And that is the biggest location for the acre. So Paul Rathayem is going to win for sure. We'll have the exact numbers soon. I'm going to start putting
so just
calculations on the big
just
board.
make sure I have that clear because I'm reading it upside down. It's 253 to 110.
Correct.
So
And including that precinct, I don't have the raw numbers, but I've got a tally including them. So now we're up to 4 different precincts. Currently, Rita 421, Vesna 404. Don't worry about that. I'm going to write this on the board. I'll save you some work. Rita 421, Vesna 404, Eric Gitchia 357, Corey Belanger 325, Bobby T 253, VRAC 247. We're still waiting on some of the big boys. Belvedere is always the granddaddy of them all, but in this race, the Highlands will definitely be beating Pawtucketville for this second highest total. We don't have any of those 3, so these numbers will change a lot. I'm going to start working on the board. You all do your thing.
Do you think we've talked about Belvedere, Pawtucketville as being 2 of the most important, and traditionally in the at-large race, those are the 2 districts that you always had to go through to be able to win. But because neither of those districts have both district councilors, Dan Rourke and John Leahy, are uncontested, is that going to suppress some of the vote that's going on there?
I think like when you saw a huge turnout, say in the old Ward 1 Belvedere, right? When the high school vote was up, the strong propensity voters, they grab their kids, they grab their grandkids, like they bring auxiliary votes, right? And so the numbers swell. But I think in a low, sort of a low excitement level, right? This 8,000 strong city voters in Lowell, based last time I sort of paid attention to the numbers. So I just don't see that baseline, the floor of the vote dropping out. Those people vote because they have a sense of civic duty to vote, right? I mean, I voted in Haverhill. I don't know really any of the candidates. I don't know them personally. I don't think I could pick them out of a lineup, but I got, I got some input. I read some of the literature. I made some picks, but I went to vote not because I was stoked for Melinda Barrett, right? I just felt like it was my duty. So I had an obligation. And I think a lot of those 8,000 people, those strong city voters, they feel like they have an obligation to participate. They might bullet vote. They might only put 1 or 2, fill in 2 ovals on the whole ballot, but they're going to go.
Yeah, I said earlier, I refuse to believe that turnout was 2,500 in Belvedere 2 years ago because of the Leahy Samaras race. I just think that 2,500 was coming out no matter what. Why they theoretically would not show up this time around remains to be seen. I don't know. I have a question for you, Jack.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me taking a
No, please do.
Jake.
Especially as I do a little calculation on my phone here.
What's the size of the bubble? You said there's about 8,000 strong.
Yeah, so the bubble is kind of an amorphous phrase.
Obviously, but
right?
what are you thinking? Like, how many people do you think comprise
8,000. 8,000.
8,000? You think?
Yep.
Really? Okay.
There was a time when I was taking every what's called the purged election file.
Yeah.
So after all the there's the voter file, which has the list of all the voters, right? Mm-hmm. And then the state can track kind of like everybody has a unique voter ID number, mm-hmm. and so you can buy a file or get it right from the city that will tell you everybody that is a registered voter and voted in that election, right? And so when you put them all together, and I had taken all the election results from 2000 to like 2019, right? And there was basically 8,000 solid vote in every, if there was
rain or shine.
That's right. Every single time, 8,000.
Sorry, don't mean to cut in. We got a big one here. We got the Upper Highlands, 8-1. Here we go. Citywide, raw numbers. Rita Mercier, 396. Vesna, 366. Corey Belanger, 279. Eric Gitchier, 508. Bobby Tubielli, 258. Birak Oy, 170. And this is also a contested City Council District 8 race. Tai Chum, 245. John Dakota, 558. So that race is just about over. He's got over a 300 vote lead, and I think there's only about 300 votes total at the charter school, which is outstanding. So can't call it yet, but pretty close.
Yeah, most of the Upper Highlands were going through the daily school.
Yes,
and it was
yeah,
a
those-
very small group that were going over to collegiate charter.
I was at the charter school at like 4:30 today, and they had about 220 votes. So I don't see a path forward. It looks like John Dakota is going to win, but we'll let you know as soon as it's official, which will be very shortly.
And no surprise there, Eric Gitchier pulling away with the Upper Highlands.
Crushed.
I mean, that's his neighborhood. He's
Crushed.
very well known up there, very well liked up there. So I'm not surprised by that one in the slightest.
And the trend continues. The top three have been pretty much the top three in almost every precinct. Well, I don't know, say almost every precinct. I think all but one
Yes.
came through. So
It seems like it's a race for 4. But Corey Belanger has been doing well for the last couple. But Bobby had a couple of strong showings. But it's all proportional, right? You might do well, but if there's only, 103 votes, it just doesn't, what does it add up? In that particular district, you might have done well, or at that polling location, but the total number of votes.
And I want to back up to District 7, Paul Rathayem and Frew. Paul Rathayem doing much better this time around than he did 2 years ago. And I think that one's an interesting one to watch too, because Frew very much has Dave Ouellette's backing, who was Paul's rival in that race
Right.
2 years
Right.
ago.
yeah, he squeaked it out 54% to 46%, more or less.
He had a good showing,
Yeah, no, it was good.
but he's very much pulling away
Yeah,
this time around.
yeah. Basically.
And I was listening beforehand about the votes and who might go for mayor. I think there's a strong chance that Paul Rathayem is not in the Vesna camp when it comes to the mayor voting.
If that be the case,
This
then
time
it's
around.
essentially over. Yes, for his prospects.
Yes.
The question will be if it's Rita and Danny Rourke,
Well, then, yeah. So
In
if there's
there.
a split, then maybe he finds a way forward.
and is there a compromise candidate
Yeah.
that's on the table? Whether
It should be.
whether it's
That is my
Vesna,
opinion.
whether it's Vesna or whether they go back to Sakari, who I think has really enjoyed that job and wouldn't mind doing another 2 years of that.
Interesting, don't you think? 2 terms in a row? I don't know. Just
Could they do that?
I'm sure they can do
They
that,
probably
right? They
can figure it out.
No, there's no limit, correct? Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's an unwritten rule, and I
Yeah.
think it would be really
That's the
interesting.
problem. There's too many unwritten rules with how it gets done, and it's too shadowy, and we can get into a whole debate as to how stupid the whole thing is. But nevertheless, it is what it is.
It is.
They're not going to touch it. You start off the term with half the council hating the other half of the council for the backstabbing or changing their vote or anything else. So I
Well,
think
I've wanted to see
the
if
flip-flopping.
Tom Golden, being the city manager, would almost scare some people off from being Rourke voters in that mayor's race, because the thought of putting the two cousins
yeah,
in the 2 top seats there.
potentially, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how that would be received. I'm not sure. Thanks, Jack.
These are just some numbers from the Rogers School. He's calculating the citywide ones, but he wanted to run these just because Jeunesse, 222 to 62. And Kim Scott, 59 to 28. Teddy's doing the official numbers now, but Kim Scott is definitely going to win.
Yeah.
Calling that one. And
And
it's looking very good for Wayne Jeunesse.
You think
just-
still too close to call, or
Nah.
or can we?
It's
can we-
literally a technicality.
can
but
we put that
Kim
one on the
Scott,
board, too?
done. Wayne Jeunesse is looking very done. I'll wait till Teddy says officially. And he's calculating the citywides. If you want to show the board, let's see if it looks. You know how to change the camera?
Cameraman Jack.
Come on, Jack,
Oh,
man.
yeah. All right. You want the board?
Just for a second, see what it looks like. And then
5.
people see it. Does that come out?
So right there,
Good enough?
I don't know how to zoom.
that's the inside Lowell election map right there.
Okay, so it's not great, but I think that works. So we're just going to keep updating. That's with
Exactly.
7 different locations on there right now. Obviously, we'll keep going, but I can keep updating that. You guys can, continue on with your conversations. I won't interrupt every second. If we have something to call, I will. Otherwise, I'll just keep updating you, and that's the way we'll do it.
I have some input
Thank
from
you.
the Daily School. So the Daily School, this is precinct 6, right? I think we talked about the council races, but the school committee race, Stacy Thompson, 282 votes, and Fred Bahu, 493 votes at the Daily.
Good. Yeah, he's gonna run it up in the Highlands.
He's got to run it up.
And then-
Let's try to break.
Hang in there in Pawtuckaville, right?
That's right.
I'll be
Jack,
back.
can you just repeat that?
So this is the Daily School, and I'm not familiar with the locations and stuff, and so I don't know really how to read the ticket. Total cast votes are 852. So we got numbers earlier from the for the city council race, but what got left off, I think, was because we already talked about Ty Chum at 245 and John Dakota at 558, right? So, but what got left off was the school committee District 1, which at the Daily School, Stacy Thompson, 282 votes, and Fred Bahu, 493. Fred, obviously, a long-term Highlands resident, ran the Windsor convenience store. Yep. So yeah, I mean, we would expect Fred to do very well.
Yeah, no stranger
Right.
to the Highlands. Been in politics long time. This is not his first go around. He
Yep.
ran for state rep,
And is elected to the
Greater Lowell Tech.
Greater Lowell Tech. So there's, he's been on citywide ballots.
Yeah, looks like he's doing what he said that he needed to do to take that seat. So
And as it stands right now, Eric Gitchier on pace to top the ticket.
Mona's election surprise coming true so far. Let's see if it holds true in
I think it will.
Pawtuckaville, which I think it will. I've got a feeling he's gonna do well in Belvedere as well. So we'll see.
That'd be a nice welcoming gift for you, Mona. Like the new person gets their surprise, right? Like,
How exciting.
would Eric be your top choice?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
As an at-large, you mean you just talked about? You're saying
Absolutely.
personally, you support? Yeah,
Personally, yes.
yeah, I voted for Eric.
Professionally, community,
Yeah.
Eric.
Oh, hold on, we
On a
got
school committee update here, you just read the numbers from one of the precincts in the Stacy Thompson, Fred
Stacey Thompson,
Bahu.
Fred, yeah.
So we've got 2 total. So there's going to be 4 coming in: McAv, Daly, Pawtucket Memorial, and the Charter School. So we have got the McAvenue, Stacy Thompson 185, Fred Bahu 178. She needed to trounce
much
him there.
better. Yeah.
And then the daily numbers, which you read. So grand total: Stacy Thompson 467, Fred Bahu 671. Waiting on Pawtuckettville Memorial and the Charter School. Fred Bahu's looking very good. Wayne Janess, we're calling. He's won. Congratulations. So for the contested races, Kim Scott's a winner. Wayne Janess is a winner. Paul Rathayem's a winner. Who are we waiting on? Is that it?
Well, Corey Robinson.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Okay.
there's no data on that yet.
And
But do you want to go
we're
ahead and call it? Or?
Nope. We do it by the books
All
here.
right.
And
okay.
we are still waiting on the rest of the Sakari Chow, Justin Ford.
Oh,
Yes,
that's right.
good
yeah,
call.
yeah.
Yep,
Race as
we're waiting
well.
on that. And then, but we always knew that the at-large race was going to be the good one. It is looks like it's going to be a good one. So
It is.
still waiting on Belvedere. That'll shift things.
That'll shift things, but as of right now, it looks like Rita Vesna and Eric Gitchier are sitting pretty comfortably in those top 3 spots.
Yep. No, it's honestly, it's going to come. Like we've been saying for months. It's if Belvedere comes out for Corey Belanger and turns on Vesna, this thing could turn.
That's right.
If it sticks the way it has been, it's kind of the chalk wins 3 for 3.
Does Belvedere have a history of coming out for Corey Belanger, though? I don't know that has happened since.
How's their memory since 2017?
Well, since 2015, I don't know that he's done very well.
No, but this is a unique race. Like we said,
It
there's
is, the low turnout changes.
yeah, and the candidates
everything,
themselves aren't traditional
Yeah.
hardcore Belvedere candidates.
No,
So,
no.
So the
we'll
whole-
see. It's unlikely, but to add some drama to the night, that's what would have to happen, right?
The ADU issue, Corey Belanger was at the Riley School
Yeah, he was there.
for the.
They didn't let him speak, but he was there.
Right, but he was there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everybody saw him. I'm sure he didn't speak at the room, but I guarantee he spoke to 75% of the people that came to the door.
Right.
Because that's what he did at least in City Hall the night of the public hearing. So Corey was Johnny on the spot in terms of trying to work that. So if Belvedere, if he's close enough that the Belvedere could decide it, I think it goes to, was it Asa that said it depends on whether Belvedere wants to turn on Vesna and
Right.
for his, his decisions
Well,
and reward Corey.
second biggest prize would be Pawtuckaville too. Pawtuckaville very anti-ADU,
Right.
especially certain sections of Pawtuckaville. So that would be the path, right?
That was his path.
Yeah, and if he plays it, then kudos.
Yeah, the ADU opposition was, I think, probably the biggest thing he did that kind of separated him.
Right, because he didn't have the benefit of incumbency every week like an Eric does or Vesna does. So just to latch on to something, anything, smart.
He obviously had that ad on Inside Lowell that directed everybody to his Facebook
No
page.
ADUs. Yeah, here's my
that-
position. Yeah, sure.
Read my anti-ADU stance.
Actually, Virac tried the same thing, and his little banner ad it also said no ADU vote or something like that. He put it out after the vote had already
Oh, he did. I didn't
gone
see
out.
that.
Yeah, but I did take note of that. Look, we have an update here.
1 second. Nope.
No?
I do.
So
Belvedere's
excited.
coming in, so I gotta go get it. So
Okay.
All right, Belvedere's coming in. We're
The big
going to update the big board. I think that's going to determine how the rest of the night.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. John Leahy cruises.
Really?
Yep.
That's a bold prediction
Before they put it
tonight.
up, I'm gonna say
I
it.
know. Jeez.
Although of interest, can he? What's he gonna get for actual votes? How many people blanked him as a message, or just?
Right, because Leahy was a pro ADU candidate
Until the end, sure. Yeah.
up until the end.
Yep.
And then that's when you saw Sakari flipped.
Yeah.
Leahy flipped.
Right.
Vesna flipped. So,
14, 54, and 21. Obviously, we're not coming close to that.
No.
But what does he end up with? How many people just left the oval blank? I'm wondering.
the ADU thing's interesting in retrospect because the two districts that were really very pro ADU, by the time they had done all those amendments to that ordinance, they were the two districts that were completely ruled out from ADU. Paul Ratayem stuck with it until the very end,
Right.
but he voted for, I believe it was you had to have like a 5,000 square foot lot.
Yeah, they all kind of
and that's
accepted
almost
some.
non-existent.
Yeah.
Up in the Jaeger.
Yeah. I mean, so Yem was a strong ADU guy and Janess was a strong ADU guy, but how many ADUs are going to be built in either one of those districts? So it was kind of a weird, not weird, but they didn't really have as much skin in the game as some of these other districts, So especially, I can sort of understand, and again, I was big pro ADU guy. I can sort of understand if you live in, Corey, if you're down in Centerville or whatever, if you're Kim Scott in South Lowell, it's already pretty dense. I can understand why they would be getting an earful from constituents who are just afraid of being all the more denser, In Belvedere, it's kind of a different type of an argument. We don't want renters, God forbid, or
No, it's not
multifamily
in my
homes in the
neighborhood.
neighborhood. Yeah, exactly. Places where there is space for ADUs, they took a different tactic of we don't want, in essence, undesirables living next to us in our neighborhood, is how I read it. In the literature they put out, that's essentially what they said. If you were a renter or lived in a multifamily house, I don't know how you're not offended by the way that was positioned, but
Well-
nevertheless, that's kind of a digression.
I have a thought on that.
Okay.
But let's
got a
go
good one.
back to
I
Asa.
got the big one.
All right.
The Riley.
Oh,
Rita Mercier, 730 votes. Vesna, 625. Corey Belanger, 639. So he beats Vesna, but not by enough. And here we go. The bomb of the night. Eric Gitchier, 850. Bobby Tupielli, 524. And VRAC, 236. So with that, I've got a good updated tally, but I'm going to do it off camera, and then it'll be ready for you in just a
Yeah,
minute.
so
As you
we'll cut back to the big board
Yeah.
in a second there. Ryan, I just wanted to chime in one more thought on the ADU thing, which is that when some of the candidates some of the counselors flipped on the ADU thing. It's because of this pending bill that's in the legislature right now.
Well, that's what they said.
That would pass it, essentially ADU by right in every community.
Sure.
And I think the one catch up with that is that bill's been filed the last.
Well, it's been 2017. There's been an ADU bill down at the State House and subcommittee.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, I that was in my mind just political cover to say that the state is going to do something on ADUs. I don't trust that, and B, if you wanted all these concessions, all these little tweaks to our ordinance, why then are you supporting a state bill that's going to be far more permissive than the piece of legislation that was on city council chambers? You know, what if there was a chance that communities that already had an ADU ordinance would be grandfathered in, like Salem, or if we had passed it Lowell, maybe they would have gotten some breathing room. You know, we could have had the things like the parking requirements and the setbacks and all the other nonsense they crammed into it. But you know, so
Yeah, or send a letter to the delegation asking them to put forward amendments to that bill
yeah,
that could build in some of the things that were done here
right,
in
right.
Lowell.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. And it's also, since you bring up the state ADU thing, it's going to be ironic when some of the people who were opposed to ADUs in Lowell, you know, they were fine with you being able to tell your neighbor what you can and cannot build on your neighbor's property. They're going to flip that script and they're going to start saying, who is the state to tell us how to develop our property? You know, so it's kind of going to be a somewhat hypocritical argument that I think you're going to see coming. You know, how dare the state tell us what to do? You know, so that's.
I'm fist bumping.
Yeah, thank you, Mona. Thank you.
Yes.
So,
There's always a work there.
Yeah. It's going to be some gymnastics in terms of the logic.
So I want to get an updated look at the big board here, but
I got you. Be the cameraman?
it looks like
I'll take care of it for you. But first, we got a call for you. Fred Bahu has won Pawtucket Memorial, so he has won that race. He is the winner. Knocks out incumbent Stacy Thompson.
Wow.
And we're going to put the grand total up here, but it looks like Eric Gitchier was the top vote getter at the Pawtucket Memorial. Also, he's about to have a nice sizable lead. And I think the drama right now, there's about 100 vote total between Corey Belanger and Vesna Noon, between third and fourth. I'll give you, I guess, updated it. Now I'm going to update it again. So, but I'll have it for you in about 30 seconds.
Even as it stands right now, it's only 175 votes that separate the two of them.
That's
That's
there,
wild.
ready?
Yeah.
So right there, did the green work better? That's the question.
I think that looks pretty good.
All right, Christmas colors. So that
Yeah.
is where we're at on the board before I switch it. Rita, 1914. Vesna, 1675. Eric Gitchier, your leader in the clubhouse at 2052. Corey Belanger, 1500. Bobby Tupielli, 1261. VRAC, 778.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm not gonna update it. I'm just gonna read it and then we can go from there.
Sure.
The updated totals. First place, Eric Gitchier, 2,363. Second place, Rita, 2,204. Third place, Vesna Noon, 1880. Fourth place, Corey Belanger, 1789. Fifth place, Bobby Tubielli, 1403. And VRAC with 890. So you get about 91 votes between third and fourth place right now. I guess that's where our drama's at.
So it's not going to be like. So I'll be the first to admit that I was somebody who thought that Rita and Vesna were the two locks, and it was between Belanger and Eric for the third spot. And it looks like now it's going to be Vesna or Belanger.
Yeah, and
third spot.
you give a slight edge, but I'm trying to think of what precincts are still out there. There's the Robinson we haven't done yet. Corey could definitely beat Vesna there. Some of the smaller ones are already done. The ones that Vesna cleans up in Acre, Lower Highlands.
Do we have all of the Lower Highlands in yet?
We're still waiting on it. There's Fred Bahu called. The only calls we're waiting on is the Corey Robinson race because we don't have Centerville and the Sakari Chow official one. We've got one of the two. It's going to be over, but we got to play it straight and wait for the actual numbers.
Yeah.
Sure. And then we have all of Belvedere in.
We've got the big one.
We got the big one in.
We've got the Riley. Actually, we've got the Pine. So, yeah, we might have all of them.
Okay, so do you have the numbers on how many votes Leahy got as opposed to blank ballots? Because Ryan had brought that up. How many people leave?
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely part of this question.
Blank.
That's on my to-do list right now. I'll be right back.
All right, we'll get an answer on how many people left the Leahy race as a blank, sort of in protest.
Well, I can tell you, and if you were looking at blanks, I have one printed receipt. This is Centerville.
Oh, we got Centerville.
Should I run it through them? No, this is Riley School.
Okay.
Somebody else sent me that, so that's not. I thought it was Robinson.
And again, we have what, 1,300 mail-ins and early votes that are not yet counted. Is that the case? I should ask Asa because he kept saying that disclaimer and I failed to listen to it every time.
Yeah, large race.
So Bobby needed to do better in Belvedere to hold on. So
Surprised he didn't. He was out there. But
So there, I know you spent a considerable amount of time this afternoon in the Upper Highlands as well. Being out there, it seemed like it was a pretty small trickle, though. Maybe 2 people per 10 minutes.
Yep.
Going in to vote. So not a very busy place, at least from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. I'm sure some of these places did pick up once people were out of work. Kids were done with sports and doctor's visits and all those things that families got going on.
Well, I wonder where we are in terms of citywide totals, like what we're on track to hit based on these numbers. I'm not sure how many precincts are in.
Like if you look.
because what did we say?
I mean, this is 40% maybe of what we would normally see for your top 3 vote getters.
2,
Did you say what? Like under 8? Is that what?
5,
That's what
6, 7. So we're at 9,000 votes right now, roughly.
Yep.
2.
Yep.
3.5, 5.5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, roughly 9,000 votes. And that is that is in very stark contrast to just a few years ago when it was 8,746 in the at-large race for. Oh, I'm sorry, 27,689. I was looking at number of uncast votes.
That was uncast, yes.
So 27,689
Uncast.
total votes in the at-large race.
Yeah, but that counts if you have more than one page of the ballot and stuff like that. So you have to be. That's a weird number. I mean, total turnout in total votes in 2021 were 12,000 something, right?
Yeah. Low 12s.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Total votes is all the votes accumulated, and since each ballot can have multiple votes on it, right?
Right.
I don't even know why.
For your request, they call them undervotes. We've never seen that before, so we're assuming that's the blanks.
sure. So
Unofficial.
So according to Asa, Asa's information, Leahy got 1,108 votes and 325 undervotes, which we're interpreting
bad.
That's not bad at all. Yeah.
the blanks.
Right.
So doesn't seem like
No huge message being.
ADUs.
So that's what, like Dave Conway and
No, 'cause
Bill
last
Samarison's
time
family.
14.
Well, I'm sure the Leahy family turned out,
Yeah, who would go to the ballot and not vote for John Leahy? Who would have it,
Who had an axe to grind with John
Yeah.
Leahy? Yeah.
Is it a protest to not fill in his name?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is there a protest vote or
Yeah.
is there a message vote? Like, look, you're vulnerable. Next time around, we'll send someone out there.
Well, I remember I have said to, like, in my family, hey, I know, Tom Golden doesn't have an opponent, but fill in his oval because the data analysts get really tweaked out.
Yeah, they'll spend more next cycle and everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't want to show any kind of vulnerability. But in the Belvedere, the game gets rigged before the election day. So, like, if there's any vulnerability, you'll see that in May.
Hmm.
All right, not in November. The fact that John didn't,
Well, that would be the
Catch up.
variable,
right?
right? why it didn't happen in May, you know, so.
Okay. Any surprises?
Not to Mona.
Not to Mona,
Not to Mona.
who had Eric
She had
Gitcher
her
top
finger
of
on
the
the
ticket.
pulse.
Ryan, Jack, any surprises based on what we're seeing so far?
Vesna is
No,
probably.
I mean, I think I didn't, no, what did I say? I thought it was Rita Eric Vesna, right? That was my.
Those were the 3 picks. That,
Yeah, but look at how
We didn't.
tight he is right now with Corey.
That is surprising, I guess, for me to see. Is that those numbers? Because it's close.
And of what's left out there, what can flip it?
You know what's kind of crazy though, is Eric Gitzier is obviously a vote to sort of keep the pressure on the Golden administration, whereas Corey Belanger is not. And so, you know, are they trying to get a yin and a yang kind of thing going on there?
I've seen several houses with Eric and Corey signs. Not
Right.
that that means anything, but you know, so I don't know that I don't know how much your average voter is looking at it in those terms.
I mean, I think Corey will. I don't want to brand him my rubber stamp, but I think I get, you know, Corey will go talk to Tippa privately if there's concerns. He's not going to lambaste him on the council.
The questions you know the answers to.
Right, like it's so. Not unless there's some major catastrophe in their relationship, it's just not going to happen.
Well, Eric's kind of become must-watch television
Yes.
on a Tuesday night.
It's not my cup of tea, frankly. I like what he does. I just don't like how he does it. I'm not into political pornography. I'm exhausted by it. Having been a political pornographer in my past life, I'm just not that into it anymore.
Well, I think
There's an easier way to get the point across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little.
he is
Well-
very direct, and he is. I think because he knows what he's talking about, and I think sometimes it does kind of. I don't want to say standoffishy, but I guess that's kind of the word. But he is very direct, and sometimes his delivery is not
He's
the best delivery.
He's
But I
really
would fully, 100%, and I would tell him on the floor if, I was a community member speaking out against him or as a friend, either way. But I think sometimes his delivery is kind of rough for people
I think
to take.
he reminds me sometimes of what you see during like a congressional hearing, when they have a committee and everybody gets their 5 minutes to say their piece.
I recognize it as a lawyer. It's a cross-examination. You already know the
Yeah,
answer to the question.
yeah.
You already have the data.
And when
You
I
just
was
call someone to
when I
stand,
was
and then
the
you
Sun
take clothes
reporter
off.
for the city council meeting, I always had a list of questions I'd formulate during the meeting. They'd call on him. He'd knock out 2 or 3 of the questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Couple quick updates. Here's the grand total from the Stacey Thompson Fred Bahu race. We already called it for Fred. We're just waiting on the charter school numbers, which have come in. So, grand total: Fred Bahu 1,125 votes. Stacey Thompson 837.
Unofficially.
Unofficially, there are still ballots at City Hall. All the mail-ins, all the drop-ins. These are all unofficial. Those who don't know, there's people outside of each polling station. The machine, they close the doors at 8, they print them out and stick it on the window. And people just take pictures and send it straight to us. So it's real, but very raw information. It's not inaccurate, but it's not official. So unofficially, Fred Bahu is going to win that race. And as you guys chat, I'm going to give you an update on the big board. But just the headline there at the charter school was Vesna doubled up Corey. Well, not huge numbers, but Corey Belanger needed to have a good numbers there, and he's kind of running out of time here. We still don't have the Centerville numbers, but we also don't have the Maury, where Vesna's going to put up a big number. So that's where we're at. I'll give you an update on the board as usual.
all right.
Tyree and
so-
Justin, we don't have
Yeah,
either.
nothing on the.
So assuming that those numbers hold between Bahu and Stacey Thompson, I'm a little surprised on that one.
I am.
Stacey Thompson, I thought, had been a very strong member of the school committee, did some good work, and I thought she had a very strong following, and I thought Fred was, I don't know, I thought she.
Oh, I knew this was all.
That's sort of my.
This was spelled out.
Say, Jake, to answer your question,
spelled out dot to dot.
he is
2 weeks ago.
also riding an Eric Gitchier wave right now. Gitchier campaigned hard. They definitely teamed up, especially in that neighborhood. Gitchier's having a monster day. He's got a legit chance to finish first. I think Fred Bahu could have won on his own anyways, but he's definitely riding that wave of momentum.
They came out of the Greater Lowell Technical High School committee tag team. Mary Jo Santoro left there limping, right? That was Bahu, Gitzier,
Too many emotions.
right? Those two, thick as thieves, brah, thick as thieves. What there was? Oh, yeah, I was gonna look something up and I can't remember what it was. You were talking about the Stacey Thompson, Fred Bahu, right?
Yes.
Yeah, those are the official numbers there, if
Yeah.
you want. I got you.
No, I saw that, but then I was gonna look at vote totals for some reason and I can't remember why.
Well, if you want to look at vote totals, go to this
No.
board and you can see them all right now. An updated big board.
Yep.
You got the cameraman there?
Yeah, it's
I'm at 5.
whiteboard. You know your whiteboard,
I
right?
do. So, here's where we're at. Leader in the clubhouse, Eric Gitchier, 25-14. Second, Rita, 23-42. Third, Vesna, 2031. Fourth, Corey Belanger, slipping a bit, 1875. Bobby Tupielli, 1494. And VRAC, 958. The questions are who comes in first and who comes in third. And
And
Eric seemed to have pulled away for first there, and Vesna definitely made up some ground, solidifying third.
Bobby Tubielli in 2021 had 4,126 votes. Where did they go?
that's the question. I don't have an answer to it.
That's a valid question because, yeah,
But to be fair, I didn't think Rita would do less than 5,000.
Assuming turnout was where we expected it
Well,
to be.
there's a 3,000 difference, right? So we got 9,000. We were pushing 9,000, right? And we were 12,145. So just for shits and grins, we'll call it 3,000 difference.
yeah.
She's fourth. Rita is 5,900. So let's see, 3. That's 2,900 plus another 7. So that's 3,600 votes that are MIA for Rita.
Yeah.
I mean, I only say that because I was busting on Bobby a little bit. Where did his votes go? But where did any of their go? So all their vote totals are down.
Well, did Bobby's supporters stay home
I mean, I would think
and not show up to vote at all?
if there's 3,000 voters between last election cycle and this, I'm going to say more of them are Bobby Tubielli voters than they are Rita. I think Rita's voters are baked in. I think these are people that vote for out of a sense of civic duty, all right? And they have a voting history of decades, all right? I think Bobby, if I'm going to be complimentary, is refreshing sort of a younger voter, next generation kind of person. And those people, the younger voters are probably just not as regular, consistent in their voting patterns. They might be energized for a campaign like Barack Obama, right? But, do they come back again for Joe Biden? That's hard to say. Those are very different candidates, even though the two of them were sort of joined at the hip in terms of leadership as president and vice president. But do voters respond to that voter the same way? I think Bobby,
That's low. Maybe if you ran into a district instead of citywide, it might have been a different outcome. That's just my 2 cents. for Rita, I'm not surprised her numbers are not as high. But I think just across the board as well, not just to name anyone up or call them out, but I think the voting people are not as interested. So I think the numbers are not there. And the ones that are saying they're interested, did they vote?
I think Rita and Vesner enjoy bullet voting probably more than the other candidates do. So that might explain why there's 9,000 voters, but not a lot of vote totals towards the candidates, because if you're voting for Rita and not filling any other oval in, right? Or for, say for Vesna.
Well, the sense I got was Rita was trying to pull Eric and Corey Belanger with her when she was out campaigning. So those were the two that, vote for me and vote for these other two guys, too. So you still have, doesn't seem like enough people are kind of coming along.
When did you see Rita campaigning? At like a party?
Look,
No, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but like, when did you see her on the stump? Like do you think she was out at what? I know when she does her party, she passes the mic. She's very gracious in terms of sharing sort of the opportunity. And if you come to her party, she's not gonna drag you in front of the room, right? So was that like?
Well, I think she has knocked on doors this cycle. I think she has gone out to different events that have happened around the city and met with people who are likely voters.
Right.
So I don't think she's just stayed home and read a book this entire election cycle.
How much money did she spend?
7,000, six to
Really?
8,000, something.
She's still got the most, I think, in the bank though, right? Oh no, maybe Sakari.
Sakari.
Sakari's got close to 50 grand.
Yeah.
Spent
in the
35 for how many votes? 400, 500?
No, it's not those votes he's spending. the
No,
money
I
for.
understand, obviously.
Right.
Nevertheless, so this just got updated before I went out.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
so
where
this
it
is where everything stands right
Vesna's
now.
starting to pull ahead a little bit
Yeah.
from Corey.
Yeah, so Vesna's got 156 votes on Corey Belanger
Okay,
right now.
and we're still waiting for Pawtucketville. Essentially, is the next big prize to be had,
That's
and
think so.
and the mail-ins and all that other nonsense.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
yeah. Interesting to see, I think, who the mail-ins favor.
I'm gonna mess with the whiteboard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Eric on top and Rita.
I have a ranking system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were you guys talking as I came in? It sounded like it was a little bit about voter apathy or decline in interest or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that the lack of print media plays a role in an election such as this, Jacob, specifically?
I think it does.
I do too.
I think it does. But I think some of the void that the Sun's decline has left has been filled by Inside Lowell at the same time. And
Yeah, I believe that as well. Yeah, it's kind of a different animal, right? Like your reporting is a lot different than my blogging, right? So they're not
right.
comparable
I think
things.
I think the change in the Sunday column
I don't know why
had something to do with this.
they've changed. It's almost like it's a news article now versus a must-read
column.
gossip column, which was awesome.
Right.
It was a lot
You
more
kind
fun.
of had
It
those
was
little
must-read.
insights, those little
No, it was
digs
like-
that people were taking
bitchy,
at one another.
it was cutting, it was fantastic, but now it's just they read like articles.
Right. That's right.
It's bananas. Why would you torpedo the one thing that people other than the obituaries, why else would you buy the Sun other than to read like a snarky column piece or to get some juicy stories or whatever? That
Under no
that youth sport.
circumstances.
Kids want to see their kids playing Little League as well, and that coverage is
I'm
so
not complimenting Jim Campanini no matter what.
well, I didn't ask you to. How about Kendall Wallace? But
Well, and
No, Saturday chat was pretty.
no. Yeah,
and
I'm
it-
saying you could keep going back
and
beyond
it-
Campanini to when they were
and
doing
it
things
carried
well.
on, I think through the last couple years too. I mean,
Right.
I think Chris Scott really
yeah,
drove the
yeah,
column.
yeah.
And then, I mean, certainly when I was the City Hall reporter, I tried to keep it going. I tried to make it a little bit less gossipy, a little less snarky, but
Bad move, Jacob.
but the thing I never liked about the writing the column was you then have to like talk to those people the next day.
Oh, yeah.
After that comes out, and so you as a journalist you don't favor people. You
Sure.
don't do that, but is everything worthy of being printed?
Right.
If somebody says something, that's maybe not flattering about a fellow counselor, where do you kind of draw the line?
Yeah.
On some of that.
I'm just looking at it in terms of engagement, right? So I liked having something that was a little bit more engaging than what we have now. I'm not denigrating Inside Lowell or anything like that. I'm just saying it's different is all. And I don't know that people have caught up to getting most of their information from an Inside Lowell exclusively almost, so, I don't know. It's interesting. It's something I think about from time to time.
Yeah, I think the one thing the Sun did very well this time around though was doing candidate profiles.
They did really, yeah.
pulled out-
Everyone, or almost everyone who wanted one could have had one, right? So the only people that weren't featured, that was their own choosing, So
Yeah, so I think that was actually a good move. That's something they didn't do 2 years ago.
right.
A lot of that was left, to the column and
Well, they would have run it as a paid insert.
right. So now that sort of changed, but I think the candidate profiles were a good move by them, and
Yep.
But I do think that the fact that the newspaper's not as strong as it used to be does play a role in
I think so. Absolutely.
in that. I mean, it's one of those things that, it as newspapers decline, you start seeing more and more of this trend of it used to be all politics are local, now all politics are national.
That's the problem. Yeah, and there's no fun identity politics things to get involved in with a local election,
Right.
So where you can scream about, abortion or wokeness or whatever the case may be, that you just don't have those type of rock fights here. It's more about zoning policy or tax rate of 9% versus 7%, so it's a little bit less sexy, I think, for your average voter. And I think, like you said, the decline of the print media has sadly played a role in that.
Yeah, and I think I think what you're seeing tonight is sort of the power of incumbency too. Even though Eric is in that third, is topping the board right now. I mean, I'm kind of viewing Eric as an incumbent here in a sense because he's on the council floor every Tuesday night. So people who are astute followers of the council see him every week, and he's not speaking exclusively about Upper Highlands issues when he's on the council floor. To be fair, I don't think any of them are specifically just focused on their one district.
Right. Yeah. Some more so than others.
Yeah.
Reward on results from the Robinson School. We don't have any results for Centerville.
Nothing.
Really?
No.
Why?
And we got no operatives out there.
Oh, man.
No insiders in Seaville.
Our Centerville insider is
It's right here.
at the table right here.
I'm right here. Done it.
Yeah.
I mean, for the district race, I think Robinson is going to pull away over Marty Hogan without any issue.
Oh, I don't know. I think we need to see it.
Well, I mean,
There's
get
no
results
doubt.
from Greg
There is
Packard
no doubt.
pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah, that race is over.
It was over when it started. But
Yeah.
let me digress here. Sakari and
Yeah,
Justin.
Tyree and Justin's the
wanna-
one that I want to know more information about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see how big of the gap there is.
Can he close it to any extent? Yeah.
Because I think everybody's got their eyes on Sakari going forward.
Yeah.
He got a lot of visibility as, let's face it, a ceremonial mayor. Is he going to try to pivot after this election's over?
Well, he put a post on his Facebook page that was very forward-looking, let's say, and he's definitely flexed his fundraising muscles. Right. So, one of the things, if you want to be considered for a higher office, you have to be able to demonstrate that you can collect donations, and he's proven that.
Bet he can.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to Asa.
No big updates. We're still waiting on Centerville and the Maury. So we got nothing. We're waiting.
Do we have
Nobody has anybody in Centerville. And I believe even the candidates aren't there. Is this true?
No, they're over in Cobblestones.
All right, that's the problem.
Someone in Centerville, whatever.
So,
That's what
I mean, it's now almost 9:20, so City Hall will have the actual numbers printing out fairly soon. But
How many votes is it? 1,300, 1,200? City Hall?
yes, they've got them, and then, I mean, you've seen the process take place, I'm sure, with the DPW trucks pulling up, taking the machines, bringing them to City Hall, running them again. That becomes your official numbers. So in years past, we've done this multiple years, sometimes 9:30. You have everything. So
they have new
Teddy's
machines.
Yes, I don't know. It's the brand new machines. They're nice to look at. They look modern. That's not always a good thing, though.
They
So,
controlled by satellites or
the Chinese Communist Party?
Venezuelans or-
wait, hold on. There's the Venezuelans.
Yeah.
Who else?
Oh, you're talking about the wrong guy. I think Teddy needs to be on this one.
He'll come running in. His ears will perk up.
By the way, I switched the people around.
Dominion, yes. Dominion, I believe, is the company.
Dominion,
Be careful what you say. You will get sued and you will lose.
Dominion
They don't pay me here
Smart
anyway.
as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're just waiting on that. So honestly, at any point between now and I'd say 10 p.m., we're just going to get the official numbers. Centerville, we don't have. But big picture, we can't call a Sakari race just because we don't have the Maury numbers. We got one of the small precincts in, which is out of the senior center, and he actually lost that one. But it's really small numbers, so I'm not going to be too dramatic about that. But the only results we have, he lost a very small, like 40 to 30 something race. The Maury is the headquarters of that entire district. We're waiting on that. We're waiting on that for Vesna to see what he can do. He's going to pull away from Corey Belanger there. Can he get closer to second if he has a monster number? We'll see.
Or is
And I
there a
think-
surprise there?
Yeah, to be determined. The Southeast Asian international politics seem to play a role in the local elections. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah,
There's some
what's going
change.
on in the Ukraine is a big deal up there in the islands.
No, but I'm saying Cambodia, they just,
I just got the Butler numbers for you added into the totals for
Oh,
large.
you got it on my phone?
Yeah.
Sweet,
Guys,
thanks.
hold away.
But yeah, no, I mean, Hun Sen, who is his son has taken over. It's not a big deal.
You have Hood Minette.
But when you have a change after 40 years in dictatorship, no one's thinks the country's gonna change and it won't be the same form of dictatorship, but it's still a different person for the first time in a lot of people's lives. So it's a topic, and it's gonna find its way into Lowell politics the way it always does. Use it against your political enemies. There's a group in Lowell that clearly hate the Huns more than anything, and they're vocal about it, and they'll always be morally on the right side of history. And then there's another group that just doesn't like them, but doesn't hate them as much, and that seems to be part of the big divide. Am I getting that right?
Well, I think
I don't know. Talk to Jake. He's closer to it than I am.
I think the other side of the argument is that there's nothing that can be done, whether you're a city councilor or a state representative, to affect the outcome of Cambodian national politics.
Right.
And so it's more effective to just focus on the things that are within your control.
Sure.
And you obviously support United States style democracy
Yep.
as the gold standard, but
It's a good debate to have, though, because again, you see how passionate some of the people in Lowell will get, and it's understandable. But at the same time, you're just going to stick with hating them, the Huns, essentially, from father to son, your entire life, and never move forward, or is it a better idea to soften the stance a little bit, maybe have slightly better relations? That's the bigger picture debate, and one that like Vesna and that crew, I'd love to hear it one day because it's interesting, Hun, this Hun is a graduate of West Point. When he goes to his college reunions, it's all American military officers. The U.S. State Department doesn't love dictatorships, but they're going to go with him. They want him on our side instead of China's. I'm not going to get too deep into it. There's a whole deeper layer to this, which is very interesting.
I mean,
Why can you not care less?
I could
You
care
talk
less.
about things that I could care less about. This is actually interesting, and it has an influence
No,
on the
I
Lowell
am. It's
election.
Lowell. I think Lowell is.
It does play a role.
It's a
I'm not saying it played a role tonight, but as we wait for the Maury numbers, it could play a role.
And as Teddy had said earlier,
This is where I get to play Mike Bacialupo and Han.
but as Teddy
Drive me nuts.
said earlier in that Sakari race, Justin Ford didn't bring in the Cambodian national politics
Right.
element of that race.
Yes. Yeah.
That
sure.
was sort of left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Now you've seen it in some of Ratty's races. You've seen it in some city council, but it wasn't there. It was surprising. I'm pleasantly surprised because you hear the voters of Lowell from all over the world is like, we care about Lowell. We don't care about what happens back in Cambodia, but it's naive to not think that it plays a role because it does.
But I
guess
think
updated
the
numbers.
battle lines are sort of drawn on that issue.
For
At this
sure.
point too, you've got one side here, you got one side there, and then I do think you have a kind of population that just doesn't care.
There's going to be a population that just grows out of it. I mean, all the younger kids growing up now, it's like they were born in America. Whole
I mean,
different
I
thing.
think you'll still continue to see it be a trend with Tara Hong being an active.
Oh, yeah. But it's got about a generation until it relaxes. Maybe that's the right or wrong word. Jack, I'll let you decide.
Not deciding.
I got the big board.
I was surprised that Justin never mentioned Sister Cities thing. He was here with Sakari and Teddy.
Yeah.
I thought if he was going to take any kind of shot, that would have been it, and it would have been, that would have played out. But
To his credit, I would say.
he was much more mature. He's learned some stuff. He's learned some stuff as a candidate.
As a candidate, yeah.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was much more polished this time around.
Yeah.
Which I think, even just in the way he sort of carried himself and, even just looking the part, putting on a shirt with a collar on it. And
Yeah. No, last time we were all in, we all commented the growth as a candidate that he's had this cycle, whether that continues throughout the council. Yeah, he speaks frequently at council meetings. Is the rhetoric going to be turned up again when the race is over? Remains to be seen, but hopefully not.
Well,
because he'd be taken more seriously if he doesn't.
well, and
That's a very good point.
and if Sakari were to go on and get a role in the Healy administration or, end up in a higher office, Justin Ford's going to be a city councilor.
Ready?
I'm ready. Hit it. All right. Before we go to the board, a quick update. Sakari did not lose that senior center. We had a blurry picture controversy. So he ended up with 74 votes to 29. Someone out back read it wrong. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. Where's that plug bell? All right. So here we are. Eric Gitchier, still your leader. 2,690. Rita, 2,552. Vesna, 2216. Corey Belanger, 2004. So Vesna's opened up a 212 vote lead. Some separation there. Bobby T, kind of a distant fifth at 1610, and VRAC 1064. So with this update, just shows that Eric holding strong at number 1, Vesna separating between 3 and 4, and Rita sort of separating from Vesna a little bit more too, but not enough to get to number 1. Still waiting on the Maury, still waiting on the Robinson.
And all Pawtuckaville's in.
All Pawtuckaville's in, and those 1,300 votes downtown.
Yeah. So we don't have Morey, we don't have Robinson, and we don't have the early vote. That was
Yes.
counted
Yep.
for.
That's where we're at.
So we're looking at top threes potentially in the 3,000, maybe 4,000 vote range.
Let's see here.
Is that really what we're looking
Okay,
at?
the Robinson won't have more.
Oh, they're gonna have more than 1,000 votes over there.
No, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say 800. Your top vote getter will get.
I just realized
Nobody's getting to 5,000.
I was-
Like, nobody's even come close to 5,000.
I was counting up all these votes like each one was one voter for one person, so there aren't 9,000 total votes
I
out
was
there.
wondering what Matthew were using there, but
Yeah, no,
you know
but-
more about this shit than
well,
I do,
I
so I don't know.
Yeah, no.
He knows numbers.
No, I was told that's goofball shit on my part. So I'll just, that is what it is.
I was too embarrassed to say anything.
We
so-
listened to you, so, you know.
Okay, I make mistakes by accident.
Oh, here he is. Look at that. The man behind the curtain.
From Justin Ford himself, the unofficial total, Mayor Sokari Chow, 452 votes, Justin Ford, 174. So barring anything strange at City Hall with the early voting, we have that. We'll try to get
That means he's got the more numbers.
We're going to try to get those right now.
So 452 for Sakari, 174 for Justin, and
Right. Not quite a triple up, but somewhere in between double and triple.
Same ratio, anyways, as last time around.
Yeah.
760 and 288 last time.
Does Eric coming in first change the vote for mayor at all?
Yeah.
Could Eric be mayor? Does he want to be mayor?
Here's the
Maybe?
He's vice mayor now.
Well, I mean, you would think Vesna would have a hard time claiming otherwise.
definitely hurts Vesna.
His people made a big stink out of the number one vote getter, blah, blah, blah.
Well, there you go.
We had the debate once
You
a
stick
couple
to
months
that,
ago.
since you said
But
that.
that
Right.
precedent was rejected, so I don't.
Why did Eric run citywide at first? Because again, some people, he got momentum for sure, and there were a few people that thought he would come in first. He's rolling it, and he is. But people at first were wondering, why is he doing that? He's got a safe seat. There's no difference. The only difference could be to have a night like this to force the city into that vote that they had last time for the mayor, for the people to decide the mayor vote. If he comes in first and he thinks that's a good decision and 75% of Lowell agrees, it's going to be hard to say no. I'm not saying that's his plan, but could be.
I think if Eric had asserted himself, he would have a strong case. I just don't know if he has. Being mayor takes a lot of time. I don't know if he has the time to commit to it. So
The meetings would be more efficient.
Would it? It'd be long.
yeah, because you can't. He's done a pretty good job when he's.
There won't be any potholes
Yeah.
left in Lowell.
You get 3 minutes to talk, and
Right.
if you're not done, we are moving on.
And he won't be talking.
Right, yeah. That's kind of like
Exactly.
playing defense there.
100%.
Well, I mean, maybe the council should take that into consideration. How much quicker their meetings will be if he's up there with the
I'm
gavel.
saying people have given
Really would
Sakari a hard
appreciate
time.
it.
I think Sakari tries his best and does well to get things moving. He's had a roller coaster 2 years with 22 and 24 motions and a lot of repetitive things and things that could have been emails. And I think he does his best.
What kind of things should be emails instead of transparent?
Oh, hold on, numbers are coming in. I'll be right back.
That's a good one.
See, I told you it was a finger.
That was good.
I think the mayor race still comes down to Dan, Rita, and Vesna. I think there's. I'm not going to rule out Rita being interested in that job. I mean, this is what? This would be 30 years on the council when she's done. A nice even number. 3 decades. Close things out. Go out with the, title of mayor.
It's an odd thing, though, for her to have her second go-round as mayor when you've got some tenured councilors who haven't had a crack at it yet. Namely, I'm thinking of Vesna, but obviously Danny Rook as well. So it almost seems greedy to an extent, to go after it. But again, this is why the way we do mayor is so stupid that we even have these conversations. Very divisive.
I'm with you,
You're
bro.
going to start the term with this rock fight that just doesn't need to happen, and also it's not very transparent either. So
Well, last cycle there
Yeah.
was the ballot question, which
Right.
people unanimously supported,
overwhelming. Yeah.
And they ignored.
Yeah.
and it came up in one council motion. I think they sent it to a subcommittee, and we never heard about implementing a ballot for mayor.
Right.
There's no appetite for it on the council. There's no appetite for it.
So they can cannibalize each other for all I care. Let them beat each other to death over it. But as a voter, I really don't care all that much about who the mayor is.
I mean, the question was raised about, if Rita wanted it, would she have enough time for it? I think the same question's true for Dan as well as Vesna. They both have state jobs. They both, have places they need to be. So, I mean,
I think that's for the whole council. I just think it would be whoever has more time to dedicate to doing those duties, because it is a lot.
As far as I know, Rita's a part-timer. I think she's or just over 20 hours or whatever. I don't think she's a 40-hour-a-week person. I could be wrong. We're chummy enough, but not that chummy. I don't know. That's my understanding.
Okay, so that would change things,
Right.
obviously, with the availability to go to a lot of those events.
I think just like, I'm not trying to, whatever. I don't have really an agenda. I think Rita as vice mayor right now makes the most sense, because she could have as much of the limelight as she wanted to have. And if it was a busy counselor, busy mayor like Dan or Eric, right? She could be a relief, like a pressure relief valve for that person, right? Of course, there would be why are we getting? But no one would say like, why are we getting Rita? If it was me as the vice mayor, they'd be like, what the hell is he here for? But no one's going to squawk about getting Rita to do their ribbon cutting or whatever it is that they do, right? So, she'd make a good vice mayor. And there's not really anybody who would be a good vice mayor as an up-and-coming mayor.
Paul?
That actually, yeah.
He's a very affable guy.
Very much so.
He's very present at, ribbon cuttings,
Love
flag
ceremony.
raisings.
Absolutely.
The chairman of the birthday subcommittee.
100%.
And I think he's self-employed.
He is. He's a
Whereas I
real
think
estate
Kim
agent.
has a full-time job. Corey, I just don't think Robinson is really cut out for that sort of thing. I think he can keep pace with it, but he's not into the pomp and circumstance.
I don't think
part
he
of
would
it.
be interested.
Right. Yeah, Paul, right there again.
Paul would be a good one.
I guess Johnny
He is.
Dakota.
I'm
he
not
would be
familiar
brand
with him,
new.
so I don't.
Eric did
Right.
his first term.
That's right, he did.
Yeah,
But Eric was
but he's
He's a
not
no.
over
he was
Why?
elected, and he
Yeah.
was elected in another capacity.
Yeah.
But John's probably is equally as known,
Yeah.
right, because of his role in the school side. But
It's an interesting take.
I think Rita would make a good. I think if Rita wanted to do it, she could do as much as she wanted to. That should be enough of a pressure relief for a mayor that had an active career, but would probably be, maybe better up at with the gavel, right?
Do you think though, and this is just, I guess I'm gonna ask it, is that because, she possibly could be retiring after this term, so she can go out as a council woman, and the vice mayor as well? I'm just asking because not because you keep, but because you are stating that, and because it could possibly be her last term. I mean, she was mayor before, but she was never vice mayor, correct? Or
Well, she goes back a long.
I think she
I
was
know
vice
because
mayor,
it's so
right?
long.
Yeah,
She
but
has
we might
been
have been in high
around
school.
for a while, so I don't. Yeah,
I'm sure she's been vice mayor.
I'm fairly certain.
I think she might have even been mayor already twice.
oh,
That wasn't when we had a lot of long-term incumbency. It wasn't uncommon for Dick Howe Senior was mayor several times, right? So if she really wanted to be mayor, I think it would be hard for any of the. If she came out and said, "This is my last term, and I want to be mayor," who's going to argue this?
I would. It doesn't matter because I'm not on the city council.
Right.
I'm just saying I just don't like the way that it's done just in general. I don't like how they put the vote out there for us to vote on, and then they just kind of kicked it to the curb. So
I'm with you.
that's just my thought. about the whole thing.
If they don't elect the mayor, I think they should, one, consider first and foremost changing the name from mayor to president of the council. Because people, like, God bless them out there, most of them don't vote and a lot of them do. They don't know that Tom Golden runs the city.
Yeah,
They
you see it
think
on
the mayor
Facebook.
does.
Who's the mayor? I'm gonna call and complain. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And, in terms of fundraising, I wonder how many people have given $1,000 checks to the campaign just based on being a mayor.
Well, a fool and his money are soon parted,
Yeah,
right?
hey,
Like
look.
you're writing $1,000 checks and you don't know that the executive of the city is not the mayor,
Speculation, I don't know.
right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I
It's
think
a lot
that,
of $1,000 checks.
well, I
on
remember
those
coming in as a
campaign
brand new
reports.
Sun reporter and kind of like, wait, what's this whole city manager business?
Sure, yeah.
I hadn't seen a city with Plan E government before. Everywhere I had worked as a reporter before, it was the mayor was the governor of the city.
Mhm.
The top executive, however you want to phrase it. So Lowell is one of 3 cities in the entire state to have Plan E. I think it's Cambridge and
Cambridge,
Worcester are the
yeah.
other 2. So I wonder if you'd see a shift from Plan E at some point.
That comes up from time to time. Strong mayor. I don't know.
And nobody listens to it.
Yeah.
Well, especially because the role of city manager, in theory, is to have a qualified professional come in and do these things. And I'm not saying Tom Golden's not a qualified guy for the job. I think he is. But it has sort of become a trend where somebody who's a senior member of the delegation gets that job when they're done with the State House.
Yeah.
So
The argument
who
is
comes after Tom?
they're all,
Would it be Rodney Elliott? Roddy Mom?
yeah, I don't know.
Ed Kennedy, if he's still active and wants to do something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking 4 years down the road
Yeah, we've
potentially.
definitely set a precedent as to who is acceptable as a city manager. Maybe appetites change.
I mean, there were 14 applicants. Tom was the only one to get an interview
Right.
this past go around.
Yeah. You don't know if maybe in the city there would be an appetite shift. I think you would need some sort of a disaster to get the appetite shift where you want to go back to a quote unquote professional city manager, in the mold of like a Bernie Lynch.
The only person I could see maybe usurping that trend is somebody like a Connor Baldwin.
Yeah, so someone that's been on the inside who's essentially kind of like, assistant city manager, quite literally, for 2 or 3 city managers now. So yeah, so I think that's
Very
a good
competent
point. Yeah,
CFO.
no doubt, very confident. Period. So yeah, so absolutely. So that might be, as you said, probably the best example of how we might break this succession of former State House occupiers.
It looks like we got some more results coming in. Let's go to Asa.
We do. I'm going to put them up on the board in a second, but just a couple randoms. Sorry, is this mic on? Oh, you want the cameraman?
Yeah, let's cut to Asa.
Oh, Asa,
I
sorry.
gotcha. I'll figure it out. That's what I do when I do the show. I just hit all the buttons until it shows up on me. So we had...
You got to keep hitting buttons.
Yes. Oh, I lost it. So just some local races. Manchester, New Hampshire.
Okay.
Jay Ruas, that's his name. Republican. Pulled off an upset. So I'm sure we have a couple people I know in Manchester. And I just had the winner of the Haverhill mayor's race. And that winner is Melinda Barrett.
Really? So
Reading a tweet from Representative Lori Trahan. Huge congratulations to Mayor-elect Melinda Barrett on her election in Haverhill. I'm grateful to call her a friend and a colleague, and I'm excited about what the future holds for this great city under her leadership.
So Melinda Barrett unseating Jim Donchis, right?
No, so Donchis is in Nashua.
Right,
Thank
right,
you. I
right.
wanted to look that up. You're getting Casey Crane on your brain, don't you? So we'll find out about that race.
No,
New
the
Hampshire,
current mayor of Haverhill is named Jim.
Florentini. Hold on. I think we got a Teddy who knows him well.
I think Jack might too.
Yes, Jim.
Jim Florentini is Haverhill. Or
Yes,
was Haverhill.
was. He long time.
Yeah, long time.
I think I almost tripped over his 10-speed bike a few times. Good in the office. But
And
so yeah, Melinda Barrett takes that in Manchester, New Hampshire. You had I forget her name, strong Democratic mayor that is now running for governor of New Hampshire. Her handpicked candidate lost to a Republican. Manchester, again, is probably the most Democratic city in New Hampshire. I'm sure people will look into that on a national scale.
If we're doing nearby communities too, I have one I can give you.
Give it, come on.
Because I used to be the editor at the Fitchburg Sentinel and Enterprise. Sam Squelia has beat out incumbent Steve DiNatale there.
Okay.
Sam Squelia leaning, they run without political parties in Fitchburg, but Sam Squelia definitely leans Republican.
All right. Excellent. All right. If you guys give me a second, I'm going to go up to the board and I'll give you an update right now.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
It's been a while since we've had one.
I know.
Is it getting?
Well, we finally got the Maury. We've got the Maury.
Oh, you got the Maury.
Got
Okay.
it more.
So just know, I'm going to put the Maury numbers up, and you're going to see them. All that's missing is the Robinson and the 1,300 from City Hall. Nobody's getting to 5,000 votes. And I'm not sure what the total is going to be. We were just discussing it. Kind of rough estimate. It's barely going to crack 6,000.
That's crazy.
We could be wrong on that. Don't quote us on that, but it's looking very, very low. Give me a second. I will put these numbers up on the board right now.
All right. Let's get our update.
You know what? I read them to you first.
All right.
Wait, why not?
Yeah, let's read them out.
All right. So, leader is still Eric Gitchier, 2,897. Second place is still Rita Mercier, 2,795. Third place is still Vesna Noon. This is with the Maury numbers included, so you're going to see him pulling ahead here. 2,549. Fourth place. We could almost call it a distant fourth place. Corey Belanger, 2,162. Bobby Tubielli, 1,733. Virak Oy, 1,235. You got a nice bump from the Maury. And that's where we're at. So we've got about 100 vote difference between Rita in second and Eric Gitchier in first. And now we've got clear separation for Vesna in third.
What's that margin?
The third
3 and 4.
Between 3 and 4, it is
About 400.
Yeah.
a little less than 400. So, and all we're waiting on is the Robinson.
And can you just
Honestly, at this point, you could almost call it. We
So
won't.
then the-
We've waited this long.
can you just
But
give us the top three again?
sure thing. Full numbers.
Yeah, full numbers for the top three.
Eric Gitchier, 2,897. Second, Rita Mercier, 2,795. Vesna Noon, 2,549.
All right. So those are your top three right now.
And again, all we're waiting on is the Robinson and the City Hall numbers. It's not impossible that Corey makes up almost 400 votes, but it's very, very unlikely. But like we say, at this point, can't technically call it yet.
Too close to call on that one.
Too early to call? I don't know. Even though we're just waiting on one.
I mean,
What do you think, Ryan? What would you
I think it would be a Hail Mary for Corey at that point to make up a 400 vote differential.
Yeah, you can't call it, but you know which way it's going.
Maybe the mail-ins would probably be your biggest hope. I mean, obviously the numbers just not there at the Robinson to make up that sort of ground at all.
Although, how's this? He's going to pick up 200 mail-in, 200 at the Robinson. Highly unlikely, but not impossible, so you can't call it just yet.
Right, yeah. So this very strong showing from Eric Gitchier.
That's the main takeaway so far.
Very strong showing. Like surprising.
I thought there was a possibility of a surprise in the Kim Scott Susie Chun race. So
Yeah, no, that never panned out.
that did not pan out. And I think Paul Rathiem doing much better this time
Yeah.
than last time is something I'm a little surprised by too. And then Fred Bahu taking the school committee race against Stacey Thompson, who
I didn't know anything about that race, but Jack had sort of predicted essentially exactly how it broke 2 weeks ago when we sat here. So
He did.
it was interesting.
I wasn't too familiar with Fred, and I was very familiar with Stacy because I was on her campaign.
and I don't think
Last
that
go
I don't
around,
think that's the
so.
last we've seen of Stacey Thompson.
I'm sure.
No, she,
I'm sure it is not.
I mean, 2 years ago, people wondered Danny beating Rodney Elliott. Was that the end of Rodney's political career?
Oh yeah, God no. Yeah.
No, he got a second act.
Take a seat, sure.
And Stacy is, I think, much younger and much more energetic, with all due respect to Rodney. And a lot more, savvy in the way kind of campaigns are being run going forward.
Hello, gentlemen and ladies. How are you? Did you miss me?
We did.
I want to take a break for just a minute, get everybody a chance to stretch their legs.
Yeah.
We'll get a word from our sponsors, and then we'll come back, see if we can get the Robinson School numbers and tally it up. And also, I'm told the official results from City Hall are coming shortly.
Oh, nice.
So you are tuned into Inside Lowell election night coverage. Don't go away. We're coming right back.
You're tuned in to Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. Unicare, offering a variety of plans for people insured under the GIC. At Unicare, your health is their top priority. Reverie 73, Lowell's #1 cannabis shop. Elevate your cannabis experience at Reverie 73. Hafner's, heating and cooling homes and businesses for nearly a century. Become a part of the Hafner's family. It kicks. Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. And by Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Alrighty, welcome back to Inside Lowell's special live election 2023 coverage here from the Inside Lowell studios in beautiful historic downtown Lowell. I'm Teddy Panos. Want to thank Jake Vitali for sitting in here doing yeoman's work along with Mona Tyree, Ryan Gilday, Jack Mitchell, Asa Stutz, as we've been working hard all night to get you the results of the 2023 election. Here's where we stand right now. All of the district races we can pretty much call. I want to put this disclaimer out. The numbers we received are unofficial when we gave you those district races, but they're usually somewhere in the vicinity, and none of them are close enough to really make a difference. We still have about just under 1,300 votes to come in from City Hall. Those votes are the early in-person and mail-in voting numbers. So as we wait for those and the official tally from City Hall, I'm told by Elections Director Greg Pappas, they will be coming shortly. So we're going to stay with you until we get you all those numbers. Let me just kind of catch you up on where we are right now. District 1, Danny Rourke, re-election, running unopposed. District 2, Corey Robinson. We haven't gotten any numbers on that race. I'll give you an indication of how much of a blowout that's going to be. Neither Corey Robinson or Marty Hogan have those numbers. Neither one of them seems to really care to go get them. I think they both know that's a foregone conclusion that Corey Robinson is going to win that race. District 3, John Leahy running unopposed. District 4, we can tell you that Wayne Jeunesse has won re-election against Amada Gregory. No surprise there. District 5, the race we all thought might be the closest, the most suspenseful of the night, does not appear to be so. Kim Scott with what appears to be an overwhelming victory through our unofficial numbers. District 6, Mayor Sokari Chow will win re-election. We got identical numbers from both Mayor Chow and his challenger, Justin Ford. District 7, Paul Ratayem winning over Fruit and Kembang. And in District 8, Johnny Dakota winning an overwhelming victory there. School committee, the only contested race, District 1, the hybrid, Pawtucketville, Upper Highlands, Fred Bahu winning a relatively comfortable victory over Stacey Thompson, barring something unexpected happening with that City Hall voting. But Fred has enough of a cushion there, nearly 300 votes, that I don't see I don't see that turning around. And that is all the district races. The at-large race is where the drama is. So let's take you over to the big board, and we can tell you that, well, it appears there's not much drama left there either, except who will top the ticket, who will finish second, and who will finish third. Right now, it looks like Eric Gitchier is going to survive. We're waiting on just the Robinson School and the early voting numbers. Eric Gitchier not only will win election to an at-large seat from his Upper Highlands District 8 seat, but it looks like he's going to top the ticket. Rita Mercier is in second place, about 102 votes separating them. Again, these numbers are unofficial. And then Vesna Noon, the ticket topper in 2021, is in third right now, but he has a nearly 400 vote, just under a 387 vote lead over Corey Belanger. And then it's a drop off to Bobby Tubielli in fifth and Virak Oy in sixth place. Again, these numbers are unofficial. And again, we still have to add some numbers from Lowell City Hall, the nearly 1,300 early voting and mail-in voting figures. That could change the order up there, the 1, 2, 3, whether it knocks somebody out of 3 into 4. That's a tough hill for Corey Belanger to climb. So it looks like we know the makeup of our next Lowell City Council. Let me bring in Asa Stutz and Jake Vitali here as well for this discussion. Actually, Jake, if you want to jump into that middle seat real quick, that way I can go to a different and better camera angle for you. You can switch microphones with Asa. You grab Asa's. Asa, you grab Jake's. First of all, thank you to both of you for sitting in. Asa.
Next time you tell me to do the board, tell me before I get dressed.
I thought I told you.
Look at him and look at me.
I would have liked to have seen an Inside Lowell shirt. He's overdressed. What the hell is he wearing?
Like 80 degrees.
What do I look like?
Job that requires me to wear a suit and tie every day now.
It will help if I turn up your microphones, huh? Do I look like Ratty Mom? You don't have to wear a suit for me. You just have to wear a suit for Ratty. So, any surprises?
I got the Steve Kornacki look going on
you
here.
do.
You got the Bushman on the board.
He's in a roll.
Definitely do.
I was saying earlier, I want a map where we can zoom in street by street. B Street is going all for Sakari.
That'd be good. We'd be up on Christian Hill right now, right?
Break down the numbers, pull them out from 2 years.
As far as the drama that's left, there isn't much of it, but essentially Corey, we're going to call it the Robinson and the City Hall, those two vote tallies, right? Corey needs to be plus 200 at both locations, let's call it, right?
All right. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do have one figure
been...
that's very important here. The overall turnout.
You got it?
7,516. 7,500 voters. So I don't want to pat myself on the back here, but my little math exercise yesterday in my column, just looking at the early and mail-in voting numbers, there was such a significant drop-off from 2021 and even 2022's state primary and state general elections that you had to know this was going to be. I mean, quite frankly, I was worried we were going to be at 5,000 or 6,000.
But even when you're writing that, you must be like, I know I'm right, but this is so bad. It genuinely is.
You know, I kept doing the math in my head and I remember telling you and others, but until I actually wrote it out, I'm like, wow. And then a couple of people who I told it said to me, oh my God, those numbers are shocking. I'm like, I know, I've been trying to tell you. I've been trying to tell people it's going to be a lot less than the 10,000, 9,000, 95. I think you were the lowest.
I put it over under 9,500.
Yeah.
And to the three people I was speaking with, I think two of them bet the over. So yes, no, it's a number. But Corey needs to get 200 plus 200 in Centerville plus 200 at City Hall. If he does that, it'll be a bit of a miracle, but he can still get in the top 3. It's looking highly unlikely, but we are professionals here, so we won't call it. We'll give him his shot, right?
So I gotta give those who predicted Eric Gitchier was going to top the ticket. Jack almost went there. Jack had him in second, behind Rita Mercier when he wrote his column for Inside Lowell. But it looks like he is going to top that ticket, you know, or he's going to finish second. I mean, he's 350 votes ahead of Vesna.
If the trend continues, so he's going to win Centerville. If the trend we've been watching all night happens, he's going to win Centerville. the mail-ins and the drop-offs are a bit of a wild card.
Correct.
We still don't know if that's the COVID people or we're not sure what that is.
And to recap that part of it, he won the Riley School outright and comfortably. I think 120 votes more than Rita Mercier.
Yes.
He won in Pawtucketville, where everybody thought Pawtucketville is, a Corey Belanger place where he could make up some room, as they thought with the Riley School, because he spent an awful lot of time working Belvedere in the Riley School. But then we saw some other, the Highlands naturally came in big for Eric Gittier there. So the largest turnout areas, he dominated. Up in Centerville, we got the Greenhill School already in. We're just waiting for the Robinson, which is the biggest number there. And as you said, he's likely going to win that one as well.
He is. And you may have skipped the big one there. I think he won Belvedere.
Oh, yeah, the Riley School.
Yeah, right. Sorry, that is probably... It's not the most surprising night we've ever had here. It's kind of going according to form, essentially. I think that is probably the most surprising thing of the night for me. Not that he did well in Belvedere, that he would win it.
I did not see Vesna being the one that's struggling to hang on. I thought Rita and Vesna were the two locks, and that third seat that Drinkwater has right now was between Eric Gittier and Corey Belanger. So
It was, it's easy to say now that the votes are almost all counted, but there was a wild card element to Eric Gittier in this race where it's like, we all said it in the pre-show. Who campaigned the hardest and the best? We all picked him for a reason, because he did. So he's earned it. Mm-hmm. But there was also an element of he rubbed some people the wrong way, and he's abrasive's the wrong word, but he's a traditional old-fashioned politician that'll get in your face, essentially. City manager's face, other councilors. Some people love that, some don't. We weren't sure how it would go citywide, and people seem to like it.
As you look back on it now, the ADU thing, and then the neighborhood issue in the Highlands regarding the house there that caused so much controversy on the zoning board, his, as you call it, he can be abrasive, but for those who are looking for somebody to fight for them, he was their guy, right? It was unequivocal. Virak Roy came in the last week with, I'm anti-ADU. Corey Belanger was strong anti-ADU by the end of the campaign, but he didn't have a 2-3 month lead up to that. Eric Gittier was the one guy from the beginning. You can even point to Corey Robinson. He co-sponsored the motion with John Drinkwater to get the ball rolling on this before peeling off his support. So from day one, Eric Gittier and Rita Mercier were the strongest anti-ADU voices out there. Kim Scott was strong, but always said, well, I can tolerate it with some changes. You never heard those words out of Eric Gittier. He's like, no ADUs. And I think he got rewarded for that today.
Yeah, he did. I'll give him that, but just the whole body of work. You're never sure on election day how it's going to translate those 2 years of governing and being a counselor, and clearly the people of Lowell like him.
No, I had said that Eric is must-watch television, and I mean that as a compliment to the guy.
It's okay if it wasn't. We like bad too. We like it all here. But you're right.
But I say that because Eric, when I was a city hall reporter covering the council, I always would formulate a list of questions as the meeting would go on, and I got to grab this guy or that one, after the meeting's over. He'd just ask like 3 or 4 of the questions that I really wanted answered, and
nice.
I was always able to beat deadline because of him.
All right, let me give you, as you guys were on camera there, I did one more bit of math work on my calculator here. 7,516 votes is the number that Greg Pappas sent us, the city's election director, for the turnout in this election. Unbelievably low. Conversely, you put that into the equation with what I would guess is the highest number of registered voters we've ever had in this city. 75,289.
Oh, geez, yeah.
We didn't get to 10% turnout. Now, we're going to round it up to 10%, but 9.98% is your turnout in 2023, ladies and gentlemen. Let that sink in for a minute. All these get out the vote efforts, right? And by the way, I will tell you that compare it to Chelmsford, compare it to Draken, Lowell is still higher.
I think Lowell was 18% in 2021. I know, obviously, there's about a 12,000 votes total
17.9%.
and a much lower
64, 65,000.
So 10,000 less registered voters, 5,000 rough actual voters, maybe a little less, but from 8 to literally it's cut in half.
Yep.
I mean,
So you know, all these efforts to get people to register to vote and to get them engaged and to change the voting system. Can we just for once and for all realize that, you know what, some people just don't want to freaking vote, you know? Sometimes you bring the horse to the water source and it won't drink.
You can officially say, we tried everything. That's that. People are going to vote like we've always done.
Remember in 2021, all the battling over, there aren't enough locations. How is somebody going to cross the Merrimack River to vote in District 4? Like, come on. People who want to vote figure out a way to vote.
They mentioned Jim Crow laws. You got to vote in Pawtuckettville from downtown.
If anybody takes a message away from the turnout figures, can it be that just stop, hold your elections, let the candidates get out and do the work. When a candidate energizes the voters, they'll show up, whether you want to see it or not. You saw it in 2016. You saw it in 2021 with Corey Robinson. You see it at every level. Good candidates
or good issues,
or good issues. Engage the electorate. Anything else is wasted time, money, and effort. And quite frankly, I'm sick of hearing from these whiners about it.
Well, to play devil's advocate, though, because I think I'm kind of reading between the lines of what you're saying, Teddy. I think that the past 2 years have shown us that the district representation is one of the best things the city ever did, because there's a lot more equity in the way things are being spread out.
Yes, 100%. I think we said that in the pre-show, by the way, as well. In terms of, are we getting better government? Hell yeah, 100%. And for that reason alone, the switch to district representation was worth it. But for those who thought it was going to be the magic bullet to turn out the voters, you're better off just trying to build a high school every 2 years if you want to engage the vote.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's kind of the best of both worlds for us, the way we've always thought, you and I, talking about on the radio. We have the good government now. Who cares how we got there? Enough with the nonsense. We have what we want. People will show up that are going to show up, and that's that. Save the money. Real quick, Teddy, I gotta fly. I gotta wake up at 3 a.m. All
right,
you good?
Yes.
All right, I'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you both.
Thank you, Asa.
No problem. Take care. Good luck.
Thank you. Great work out there. Mona, Tyree, back in here. Mona, I gave some stats there. I don't know if you heard them in the other room. The turnout from Election Director Greg Pappas in this year's election, 7,516. 7,516. As low as we feared. Not as low as I said it could have gone, but 7,516 is low. Couple that with the fact that you have, I think, the highest number of registered voters ever in the city of Lowell, 75,289, I believe is the number. Your turnout is 9.98%. We went from 17.9% in 2021 to 9.98%. What's the message out there?
They're not not interested.
Do you still think we're getting a better form of government, though? Even though this seems to be significantly less interest, do we have a better form of government today than we had 2 years ago?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's the three of us in agreement. Ryan Gilday.
Yeah.
Come on, Mr. Belvedere.
What about it? So what do you want to know? Do we have better government? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, despite the fact that it looks like being the whole point of changing the system was, for me, it was to get better representation for the neighborhoods. For some, it was to increase engagement.
Yeah.
I got my wish. I think some folks who spend an awful lot of time and effort on going out trying to get people to register to vote and to actually vote once they're registered, they're going to be disappointed. But I think if you can get one of the two, I think we got the better one.
Yeah. I mean, well, so decentralization of power, I thought, was, for me, the biggest advantage of switching systems. So that, I would say, is a success. I think you have better government. I'm not prepared to draw conclusions on participation and engagement based on this one election where there was no big issue, a weak crop, no offense to anyone, of challengers, no referendum on the manager. I think there's a lot of reasons why this could potentially be an outlier, and I don't think we'll know why potentially 4 or 6 years from now as to what happened in 2023. So I don't think I'm prepared to jump on the bandwagon of we can pin all this on changing the system. I don't know if we would have had a different result if we were still at large and it was just kind of a lackluster slate of candidates without many real issues going on.
I think we were heading in the same direction, even if we stayed at large. I think the issue is, and we kind of talked about it in the pre-show, didn't we, Mona? And when Jack was here, we talked about none of the challengers seemed to catch fire as we saw last time. Again, last time was special, right? It was 2021, first time under the new system. But you had an Eric Kitcher, you had Corey Robinson engaging those neighborhoods, and even Paul Ratzayem and Dave Willett working hard in the acre. We didn't have that this time. And as we looked at those results start to come in district by district, I think that was kind of a firm, because there wasn't a competitive race. Even the race we thought was going to be close, Kim Scott and Susie Chun in District 5, that turned out to be a blowout as well. Yeah. So I think if we get a better field of candidates and challengers, we can probably start to get those numbers back up into the 9,000-10,000 range. And then, Lord, who knows, maybe if we put the mayor thing on the ballot.
Did you check your email?
I just got the unofficial results. There we go. We can download them. Thank you very much, Mr. Mitchell. So let's pop those open and give you the unofficial results here. So those numbers are correct. 7,516 votes cast out of 75,294 registered voters, a 9.98% turnout. 4,616 blanks. In the at-large race, Eric Gitchier tops the ticket, 3,837 votes. Rita Mercier, 3,723, a difference of 114 votes. She is in second. And Vesna Noon is your third at-large city councilor, 3,405 votes. When all is said and done, he was about 531 votes ahead of Corey Belanger in fourth place. Corey with 2,874 votes. Bobby Tubielli in fifth at 2,472. And Virak Oy at 2,472 votes. Let's see, scrolling down a little. Dan Rourke, 794 votes out of in his district, in Pawtuckettville District 1, he ran unopposed. In District 2, Corey Robinson wins re-election there, 562 votes to 141 for Marty Hogan. There were 707 total votes, so I'm just going to quickly do the percentage here. But Corey Robinson with 79.5% of the vote. So an even bigger margin than last time. Oh, Bobby Tubielli's numbers you were looking for?
Yes.
Let me give you those, Mr. Vitali, 2,472. So in District 2, we gave you Corey Robinson with close to 80% of the vote. District 3, John Leahy running unopposed. 1,774 votes in Belvedere, about 900 less than last time around. District 4, Wayne Jeunesse, 467 votes. Amala Gregory, 136. Just some quick math here. There were 655 votes cast there. So 467 divided by 655, 71.2% of the vote there for Wayne Jeunesse. Again, not a close race. In District 4, that was just for District 5. This was the race we all thought would be the closest, might have some suspense. Not so. Kim Scott, 513 votes out of 813 ballots cast. 275 for Susie Chun. Comfortable victory there for Kim Scott of 238 votes, if my math in my head is correct. She won by 180 over Tooch Van last time around. From a percentage standpoint, 513 divided by 705 gives us 72.7% of the vote there for Kim Scott. In District 6, Sokari Chow, 476 votes out of 705 cast. Justin Ford with 182. Again, no drama whatsoever there. Mayor Chow with 67.5% of the vote there, 32.5 or thereabouts for Justin Ford. We move to District 7. Paul Ratayem easily winning re-election again with 355 votes over Froome Kembeng, who got 140 votes. There were 535 votes cast total. Paul Ratayem earning 66.3% of that vote. And in District 8, the Upper Highlands, 1,266 votes cast. 799 of them went to John Dakota. 387 of them went to Tai Chum. 63% of the vote for John Dakota. He wins comfortably there as well. The one competitive race in the school committee. Actually, let me give the school committee at large. There were only two candidates, Jackie Doherty, Connie Martin. Jackie Doherty tops the ticket with 4,668 votes. Connie Martin, 4,441. And then on the school committee, District 1, which combines the District 8 Upper Highlands with District 1 Pawtucketville, we had Fred Bahu with 1,193 votes. Stacy Thompson with 923, a difference of 270 votes out of 2,305 cast. I'll see if I can give you some quick percentages here. Fred Bahu with 51.7% of the vote. So that was a relatively close race. Look, I'm going to guess because of the numbers that we have, there was a well over 200 vote difference from the 4 different polling locations. I'm going to guess that Stacey Thompson had a very significant mail-in and early voting turnout to make that race closer than it appeared. But congratulations to all of the candidates, those who were successful in their campaign, and of course to those who ran unsuccessfully. It takes some courage to put your name on a ballot and ask the voters to render their judgment, and it takes an awful lot of work. And I admire anyone who does it, whether I agree with them wholeheartedly or disagree with them. They are to be commended for that. And congratulations to the 7,516 Lowellians who showed up to vote as well. Ryan Gilday cannot hide his disgust.
These are like class president numbers. Like the top 3 vote getters in the city, they're in the 3s. Like, when have you ever seen anything like that? This is crazy. There's candidates winning races with, I don't know, what's the lowest winner? Was like 300 votes, Councilor Yem or something?
380, 355 for Paul Ratayem. 535 votes total in the acre, right? So we had last time in the
50% drop off.
1,059.
50% drop off.
50%. Oh, I'm sorry, no, that was, my apologies.
1,005.
891. I was reading the District 4.
Oh, okay. All right.
891. But
Well, so District 4 was still 1,000 vote district, wasn't it? Yeah, so that fell in half, right?
1,059, and we ended up with 655.
Vesna has 3,405. Last time around, he had 6,000 and change.
6179, yeah.
Where the hell did those people go?
Well, so a lot of them, it's safe to say a lot of them just didn't
They just
vote.
stayed home, obviously,
But
right?
you have to say there are a lot of people did not vote for Vesna.
Well, he got punished for whatever reason, for, I don't know, ADUs,
So
I guess. I don't know.
Did the ADU opponents still harbor ill feelings because he was an original supporter
Right.
and let it get that far? Or did his ADU supporters who thought they could count on him turn on him because he changed his vote?
I don't know. It's shocking.
Stunning.
It's stunning. It's stunningly sad. Even like, Bobby Toubiel, I don't know. So where did these people go? He had 4,000 and change in 2021, drops to 2,472. Didn't really do anything to lose votes from anyone other than that people stayed home. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around what exactly went down this election.
Let me give you one other fun number and see if you'll comment on it. Barakoy, 6th place, 1,552, first-time candidate. The last place finisher, 6th place finisher in 2021, Robert Hoey, 2,254.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Bob Hoey, in a much higher turnout election, garnered 700 more votes than Virat. Things that make you go,
Crazy.
So,
Yeah.
hey, let's see if we can get Jack and see if Jack will come back in here with Jake. Going to get your final thoughts as well before we wrap up our broadcast here, because it's been a long bleeping night tonight as well. It took a little bit longer to get the votes than we had hoped, but Jack, first of all, your thoughts on what we observed and reported on this evening.
I like Ryan's sort of cool, calm, and collected. I don't know what 2023 means until 3-4 years from now.
It sounds like a smart thing to say, but
It
I don't know
does.
that it's true.
No, and knowing you as well as I do, you're not that smart, but you know how to pretend like it. And that is half the battle.
Blowing my cover. My whole act just got thrown out.
The window.
So yeah,
So
I don't know.
I want to give you kudos because you almost went there. You put Eric at second,
Right.
and you almost went the full. He's going to top the ticket route.
I put that out there. I just said I think his style would work against him, but I tried to frame the race as kind of a mandate on the city administration, right, and Tom Golden. And, I'm sure Danny Ballgame is pulling his hair out right now because he does not want Gitzier to be ascendant like this, right? Because Gitzier is only going to be emboldened by this vote total. So I don't want to say mature. He's not like a punk, but he goes too far. But will he take this sort of affirmation from the voters and find some chill? And just be methodical and steady. A big thing that's coming up is going to be the replacement of the human resources director, right?
Which has been his number
He
one
led with that
driving
in
issue. Yeah.
March of 2020, right? Well, no, 2022, right? Would have been the first year of the, and he was like, human resources is 10 years behind. And so, but he's kind of backed off that a little bit and sort of given the administration some time to sort of find their way, but now he's number one.
I know a human resource person who has a little bit more spare time now. Maybe it's a natural fit.
The Bobby Tubielli for human
I
resources.
noticed in your article about Mary Callary retiring, the banner ad that I got was for Bobby Tubielli. I don't know if that was done on purpose.
It was. It's funny because it was not. I can tell everybody it was not done on purpose.
Mysterious way.
They were going on a rotating basis. It was easy in July, August, and September because Eric Corey Belanger was the only one advertising. He was the only one up there. Once everyone else jumped in, especially the last week, I went in a rotation. And when I posted the Mary Callary story last night, I looked at, who's next? And there was Bobby Tubielli of the three large candidates.
So Teddy,
That could be
Corey
a sign.
Belanger was the first to jump on the bandwagon for Inside Lowell. What does that say about the power of Inside Lowell's advertising?
Well, listen, advertising. I see this on the radio, right? You advertising works, but for some people, I used to say Patrick Murphy owed his surprising election finish in 2011, I believe it was, or 2009. He was one of the first ones to jump big into WCAP and go after the Lowell Sun. I quickly learned that ultimately getting out there, meeting people, knocking doors, and then once you're in office, doing what the people want, whether it's constituent services or being a saber rattler, that ultimately prevails over any form of advertising. I don't think in these kind of races, city races, you can really buy your way to victory through advertising. I think you can buy your way through victory perhaps with mailers and maybe having a large enough staff and time yourself to go door to door. But I'll defer to Jack on that one. Jack, you're more the door knocking guy.
2025. Absolutely. Shooting yourself in the foot.
No,
I'm selling my Inside Lowell stocks now. I'm shorting Inside Lowell.
Listen, it does. I'll tell you,
Not even 2025.
it does not hurt. Advertising does not hurt, but it's not going to carry a candidate who just doesn't have a fire behind them or a wave behind them. I've been perfectly honest with people all along, and I'll continue to be. I could say Johnny Dakota and Kim Scott. Kim Scott can owe her bigger victory to it, but honestly, Kim Scott owes her victory to her getting out there, as Jack so eloquently said in the pre-show leading up to the polls closing, that she worked her tail off and she was a damn good city councilor. If you're going to write a book on how to be a city councilor, she's probably get a couple of chapters in it.
Agreed. I think Bobby Tubielli has about as much chance of being human resources director as Youngju Choi does of being the city manager.
Wow. Mona, any last thoughts from you?
I'm sorry. No comment on this side.
Which one hurt you more, the Bobby Tubielli shot from Jack or the Youngju Choi?
I don't know which one. I'm not even going to comment.
I wouldn't have predicted that Jack and Mona just being this playing off of each other in this comic way. Going into these two podcasts that I've done, I would not have predicted that, and yet here it is. It just works so well.
It works. It just works.
Can I bring up one of my pet topics? Actually, you never even got a chance to chime in. I apologize.
Yes, it's just your show, right?
No, it's not. It's your show, guys.
No, I just want to say, really, just congratulations to everyone that ran, and double congratulations to the winners. And I think I called Eric as number one, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, you're right. You did it. I just remembered that. So congratulations on that. I do want to put this one out there for you guys as my parting shot to the nonprofit world and the left. They had a rough night. It was a rough night for Lowell's nonprofit industrial complex, and it's and dare I say the DEI movement. I mean, Fred Bahu prevailing over Stacey Thompson. The one incumbent who lost was, the queen of DEI on the school committee, right? For better or worse, she went down to defeat. And the adage that Lowell is, old Lowell is dead. It is.
I'm sorry.
No.
I think it is.
I think what we learned tonight with a turnout of 7,516 people is that old Lowell will vote no matter what the issues are. I think what was missing might have been quote unquote new Lowell. Am I being too giddy here in the death of Lowell's leftist movement? Or, Eric Gitch, say what you want about Eric being a rabble-rouser. Nobody went harder at the nonprofits than Eric Gitchier and Corey Robinson, right? And both were very handsomely rewarded tonight. Corey with 80% nearly of the vote in his district too. And Eric Gitchier topping the ticket, Rita Mercier, and while Vesna gets third, that's a big drop for him, which, by the way, isn't exactly what you want to be taking into the mayoral campaign.
I don't know, the whole not-for-profit thing. Like, I'll take exception to the thing and make fun, but it seemed like in 10, 12 years ago, it was beaten up on UMass Lowell. Or UMass, right? UMass Lowell, they gobble up all our property. We're not getting any taxes out of it, blah, 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 blah. And, payment in lieu of taxes, UMass. Well, now that Marty Meehan is up there, nobody wants to screw around with Marty Meehan. So now the next easy victim that can't really fight back is CBA and CTI and Lowell Alliance and CMAA. It's easy to beat up on these creatures, right?
Especially when they're the ones lobbing most of the shots. An endless parade of, you guys suck as a council, you don't care about the homeless, you're cold, you're heartless.
CBA does that. Right, and then what? Kyle Howe, for whatever it's Howell, whatever it's Howell. Right?
Yeah,
he likes to go there and
the community health center. They're not shy about,
but not CMAA, not and CTI.
CMAA does it with the get out the vote effort.
look at
They're smart. They don't show
how
up.
well
at
they
the telephone
doing.
meeting.
Right. I think you just have a stalking horse and you just put a brand on it. Like 15 years ago, 12 years ago, it was UMass Lowell and payment in lieu of taxes. Now it's the not-for-profits. There's like somebody's got to be badgered, and I'm not saying that. I think you just exaggerate the problem. That's all. I'm not saying there's no problem. I'm saying you exaggerate it. You're sensationalistic.
I was never at one of these pilot program things for the UML. I think I quickly realized that they're the city's only hope. So the nonprofits are like, I'm celebrating tonight.
Poverty
I'll
is
tell you that
big
much.
business, baby.
Poverty is big business. All right. Ryan Gilday, Jake Vitali, Jack Mitchell, Mona Tyree. Thank you so much for being a part of our fun tonight. I had a pretty good sized audience out there. Both I was tracking some of the numbers on the website on YouTube, and it was our biggest show ever. And people, we had at one point we had candidates who didn't know the results texting us to get the results. So I told them to tune in and watch you guys. So great work out there. Thank you very much for spending your election night here with me, and thank you to all of you for spending your election night here with us as well. Boy, I keep turning off my microphone. What the hell is that about? Anyway, thank you to our sponsors for making tonight's broadcast possible, and thanks to all of you who tuned in as well. We'll have plenty more in the coming days, weeks, and months regarding the election results and what it means for the city of Lowell going forward. Of course, the next big election, who's going to be our mayor? We'll get to work on that as soon as we get the hell out of here tonight. Till next time, everybody stay safe out there. And as we like to say, inside Lowell, if Lowell is your home, this is your place.